out towards the garage catwalk. That'll become a huge thorn in the side of FaZe if they want to use that position to attack this site. Might not necessarily be in the cards though. FaZe seem to be favoring construction side play right now, and that has set Nesk over towards the blue position to maybe get aggressive, as they'll still want to try and potentially open up the main balcony in order to give them an extra angle peer into this site. Time will tell, though, how exactly the members of FaZe will build up into this execute, as we can see Souls in position now to EXO out the setup over here on the main balcony. And there we go. It'll be dealt with without too much of an issue. Not really anything seriously in the way of their assault there.
Astro once again on the sneaky move. We saw him pulling things very similar earlier on this back end. Unluckily enough, the Thatcher EMP will not land close enough towards the battery to actually disable it. So Cameraman will have to reposition himself. Fortunately, still having one more EMP in order to disable that wall and allow the Selma charge to go off. So Astro actually has an angle into this space. This is going to make Green Box especially difficult to play inside of that area. So we'll see exactly what can possibly go on. Cyber going to clear that as well, just to make sure that if anybody was playing inside of that area whilst the Selma was going down, they were dead to rights. FaZe already making some solid headway over here on the construction side.
Nade going down in a position where we commonly see players try to position themselves and anchor to stop the swing in through that construction wall, but as you guys noted, nothing there this time. So FaZe chucking those nades out with not a whole lot of intel to play behind them. I don't think anybody from Liquid was even in the neighborhood as that nade, ended up going out. Either way though, Liquid have wasted out time due to the relative inaction we have seen from FaZe here. 30 seconds left. We've only just now seen a kill, but it is going to be immediately exchanged in another part of the map here as Souls trades out onto PSK, bringing us down to a 4v4. Cameraman has a great follow-up as he leaps into the cache site as well, taking out the first hold inside of Red Stairs, but Nesk is still holding his position. Astro again though, keeping numbers even and keeping Team Liquid earnest as we go down to the 2v2, and now Bullet strikes also to eliminate and resets. The Nitro's in, but no kills to be found, but Nesk with the clutch maybe in his future as he moves himself out, finds the trade on the Bullet, attempted to deny the plant, but doesn't have great intel here. Astro's a lot of the gun, but Nesk, even with the pre-fire against him, gets his triple instead. Liquid are going to go up 2-1 now as they get a response on their cache hole.
Cool, calm, and collected. Just another day in the office for Nesk. Even fist bumping before he gets the diffuser. Fantastic stuff there from Liquid, but even better showcase of Nesk's ability with that triple kill. Liquid now pull ahead yet again here on the CCTV site, and it was getting sketchy in between these two. Time and time again, they're able to equalize the man advantage and make it to where they have to play out these low man situations. And Sean, it can go either way inside of that. All it takes is one person to have a hot gun, and now two people are dead, and that's the round.
Liquid now in charge of things, but for how long is going to be the question as we do a return over towards Jim. And this is a site where they were able to negotiate control for themselves, but only due to clutch capability that ended up coming out from PSK on the mirror, while also being fed a dump truck load of intel in his 1v2. Liquid, of course, cannot rely on that type of performance, as we saw in the very next round where PSK was put up against a similar situation, a 1v3. Obviously on a different operator and different site, but still could not leverage the same type of advantage there to shut that one down. So it's got to be a bit stronger, especially from the time-wasting department here for Team Liquid to be able to pick up a third round.
The big change up to Liquid strategy for Jim this time around is there's not going to be a Mira inside of this lineup. We saw that to the nth degree the last time that we were here, especially when it came to how things broke down inside of the site.
見ながらって言ってて全然見てないけどな。全然見てないし、シージ好きやし、好きやけど、全然わからんし、あんまやってない今。ああ、こいつめんどくせえな。こっちの大きいイルミネーターかな。と、両方にこのなんか、このカバーやな。この蓋のカバーをつけなきゃいけない。それができたら基本、OK やけどな。
Not going to be able to possibly pierce the veil on that this early on in the round. And I would imagine, again, we're going to have a relative inaction from FaZe built up for the first 2 minutes just because they've got those Rotera drones to throw out. That'll be Cyber's main priority for this first minute or two. Take out as much utility as possible inside of the site. We'll have to probably wait and stagger them a little bit too. As you guys can see here, those magnets coming out. More and more of them will spawn the deeper we get into this round. And the longer he waits, the more of them will be on the field and the more that can be possibly taken out by the Rotera drones.
What a sketchy spot to drone, but the good news is that entire wall is reinforced. It's just one of those things as a siege player, you kind of start sweating when somebody's right next to sight and droning like that. But luckily enough for FaZe, and especially for Astro, doesn't have to worry about it all too much, just given the circumstances of where Liquid can be at the current moment. And he knows that. That's exactly why he's doing what he's doing. For Liquid, they'll be stuck inside a bathroom as well as Stash for the time being. An EMP out to assist with getting some hold or grasp on this bathroom wall here and start applying pressure to Liquid's actual defensive setup. Ask still outside inside of Cash as the rest of the team just simply awaits FaZe's arrival. Bolt still traveling up the staircase here inside of Garage, but still no engagement just yet from anyone. They've gotten Jacuzzi open, but Ask will be first to strike as he takes down Cameraman. PSK will add onto the fire as well as he'll take out Astro. But Bullet quick to the trigger, even though Souls is now down. They need some serious help over on this side, and that's why Cyber has picked it up and dropped in off plat.
Resilience from FaZe is something to be respected. Their capability to trade out these kills. We saw that to some degree inside of their OXG matchup earlier today as well. Let's get FaZe having to play 2 best-of-3s today in order to push themselves further and further into the upper bracket. This round, though, looking a little bit drastic now that that third player had been bled out from the Toxic Babes. As now things go down to a 4v2. Drone intel still possible for FaZe to bring back out here as one available still here for Bullet to be able to utilize. But away from that, Liquid have full control of every aspect of their site here. And for the 2 members on FaZe, they don't have the greatest capability to get themselves in. A great shot from Bullet, though, to finish off PSK.
Oh!
Cyber with 2 of his own. Suddenly, the round's been flipped, and it's up 3 sets in a 1vx to clutch this out. It's not going to get interrupted, and Cyber no resets. He's in the fight still. Be spotted out by a drone. A little trouble taking care of that, but that's all right. As he works himself forward here, he's got to figure out where Bullet went, as he's long gone outside of the windows and now outside the long balcony. Looking to clutch this one out. Just play on the sound cube when resets taps on the counter defuse here. No immediate rehop here for Bullet, so we can actually stay for quite some time. Here comes by resets, and another
見てなくてもいけたんちゃうかなって感じだけどな。ギリギリ。
That game sense is incredible from resets. What is that timing? As he sticks it down to the last microsecond before Bullet bails in the window, thinking a little bit too fast as these two are just insane at the moment. Oh my goodness, a 3-1 lead now for Liquid after resets picks up a round that he should have never have had.
FaZe have got to shore up these post plants. That's the second retake in a row that's come back against the FaZe attack here. So while they don't seem to have too much of an issue getting into the site, especially when you've got players like Astro and Bullet on the entry game, they're having problems though maintaining and more importantly stopping these clutches that we've seen 2 times in a row on this specific site. So it's back to the basement where things did go well for FaZe. Unfortunately, the only site where things have gone off for FaZe here as they're able to control this what ultimately still had 3 players standing after all members of Liquid were dead.
Incredible story thus far for Liquid's defensive side, but what's it going to mean to how their offenses go? FaZe been having a lot of trouble, even though they've been getting the picks and getting the plants. These post plants have not been working out for them. That round, a clutch moment for them, but quickly turned into Reset's highlight reel there at the tail end. Now inside of round 5, Liquid having quite a few options inside of what they're bringing to the table. Ask will adopt the Mira back into the lineup. Paul will be bringing the bandits to make sure that those don't open up, and past that, everything's seeming pretty rudimentary at the end of the day. As for FaZe, you can see more of the same for them. Cameraman will keep the Thatcher in, as well as the Flores for Cyber to make sure that they can get rid of some of these odd locations from Liquid.
Got the members of FaZe getting themselves onto the field now, and for Liquid, it's going to be a little bit of a spread out play on the opening few seconds of the round. No one really trying to take any huge risks here. Excuse me, I say that, but we do again have an oil pit play coming out from Ask, mainly just trying to toss a nitro on the initial entry from FaZe into Garage, but not going to see much come from that, just more posturing than anything, and the players will eventually fall back. So a full basement hold in the cards this time. Liquid will adjust their strategy from the previous attempt and rely entirely on this bottom floor hold instead of trying to utilize an extended roam that we saw back on the last attempt. That did not go too well and unfortunately didn't really waste a whole lot of time either.
No, definitely not. Already some soft destruction inside of Kitchen as well as, oh, well, speaking of soft destruction, Cameraman will step on a landmine and he loses his legs. And he'll lose his life as well. It's a 2v5, or rather 2-5 scoreline for Cameraman as a 5v4 going into this now. Big news is that obviously the EMPs are off the board, folks. Not having Thatcher is going to make things even more difficult as they do not have access to Maverick. Anything that they have been able to grasp a hold of will more than likely be closed. But the good news is that they banned Kaid. That's the biggest piece to this puzzle. With him on the board, that would have been a very, very terrifying round, as all of these hatches would have more than likely been sealed.
As continuing to do a fantastic job when it comes to the first kill department. He's 3 for 5 on them right now, and in just the last 2 rounds in a row, he's been able to specifically target out Cameraman as he's become the victim in both of those rounds. So things looking good for Team Liquid to start themselves off on the right foot, but as we saw in the OXG matchup, they've been able to come back from those time and time again and just having a little bit of a struggle with it here, especially in their post plants, as we touched on at the beginning of the round. Either way, though, FaZe now on a mission to make their descent into the basement with the last minute of play they have. They've used plenty of this time to gather intel to see what exactly Team Liquid's setup looks like, and now they need to take action upon it here as they're quickly running out of time to work themselves in.
Now with only 40 seconds remaining and minimal time in order to achieve the deed, 2 will drop into Moto. They're trying to pressure Palu, but is that the greatest idea? He'll be able to trade himself out 1-for-1 initially as Cyber drops in. Astro taking some heat as Asko will be able to take him down. Cyber will flash out, but he has to double back to try and get control of the case. He'll take down Ask, but Nesk refrags. It's down to the 1 versus 3 for Bullet. He's on the back end, but he'll only be able to secure 1 before Resets picks him off the Mira, and that's just how good this setup can possibly be when she is in play. Yet another round here coming for the Liquid members.
FaZe seemingly relying on some of that pressure from Blue in order to make their Moto drop a bit more successful, but we just never see it happen here. Their players trying to work their way in and once again working from the back foot this entire time, but you can see this is just a very one-dimensional push. As you said there, it's not really the best decision because they don't have any counter angles set up to assist in that one. They're just walking directly into the Team Liquid setup, and while there was players in Blue ready to push, they too couldn't push because of the side angles that were working against them from inside of Arsenal. So a rough go of it there for FaZe, just throwing bodies at the site, hoping one of them would stick. And well, yeah, there was trades every once in a while with Liquid already having the 5v4 advantage from that nice nitro cell from Ask at the beginning of the round. Not much of a hope for that to realistically work for FaZe. And they drop yet another round, and Liquid continue to surge here, leading 4-1 on this first half.
An insane start to Clubhouse here for Liquid, as this is indeed FaZe's map pick, but just because it's your map doesn't mean that you automatically claim victory, as Liquid is proving currently on this defensive side. Also, guys, make sure you check out our esports skins available right now inside of the Rainbow Six Siege client. Just head on over to the store, click the esports tab, and you have access to all of the esports skins. They directly support your favorite esports teams like Liquid and like FaZe.
All right, now we'll pay closer attention to the FaZe assault once again here. They have a lot more work cut out for them. Starting to struggle inside of the early and mid round. On top of that, late round too, not even getting close to the execute this time. And unfortunately, only 1 additional round to go on this assaulting side to try and make up the difference here and at least give them a palatable 4-2 half, which again is certainly going to be winnable here given the past history of Clubhouse and the general defensive-sided nature of it. Seems like we're playing into that fairly heavily at the moment inside of this matchup. As neither team, FaZe at least, on their attacking side, not trying to play too heavily into that grenade meta that's been propelling our attackers forward and giving them a lot of extra boosts inside of these matchups here. Quickly though, they will open up the primary balcony, giving them the first point of access to the site that they'll need, which they did not really use all that much in the previous attempt here. They tried to go mainly for a construction site, and it was fended off there by Liquid.
Well, the checklist still has to be achieved in a certain sense, so still gain access to that wall, as we seldom see it not destroyed inside of a round. It usually is the priority of every offensive squad when it comes to Clubhouse and their attack onto CCTV. It just applies so much pressure and makes things quite difficult at the end of the day. Astro with the AK-12 yet again here, sitting inside of Lounge and bearing down on Nesk, will reposition in through Oil Pit. Might just go through and challenge inside of this space, but while Astro hear him doubling back, he sees the gun, and this might be the easiest frag Nesk has ever gotten in his life. Astro, we might want to change out those in-ears, my boy, as he did not hear this man stomping across the entirety of Garage to come and secure that frag. Looking for another one, and Nesk will get it as soon as he asks. Bullet will fall, and Liquid have a perfect half for opening bloods.
Yep, every single opening kill going their way, and in this case, 3 of them, in fact, as they're shredding this attack apart before it even enters the building. Finally, someone trades it out, but it might be one of the only ones we get here, as Cameraman is able to isolate out resets on the Malusi and eliminate that. Palu, though, immediately exchanging not just one, but both of the remaining members of Team Liquid, gives them another incredibly one-sided round. Things never really improved for FaZe over the course of that half. It only got worse. And now we've got a 5-1 lead set up for what was the defensive side, now moving to the attack.
Have Liquid leveled up? That's the real question here. This team is looking like they are on one at the current moment, especially for Ask, the IGL of Liquid, getting his hands really dirty, I would say. Disgusting openings from him as he's actually out-fragged Nesk, I do believe, on opening kills inside of that one. I believe he secured 4, but definitely 3, so he either tied him or ended up pulling past him just on that half, and that is just absolutely absurd. They'll be starting their offensive side 5-1 in their favor as FaZe try to clamber out of this very deep hole here on their defensive half.
Things obviously look bleak at this point for FaZe in this map, and it is their map pick, so once again lends credence to a possible 2-0 for Liquid, but it's important to note the similarity of the map pool for both of these teams, so it's not going to be an awful second map here for FaZe as they get ready to potentially move over towards Oregon. The second play between these two teams, FaZe might have an opportunity to bounce back. Yep, we'll have to hold our breath on that until we finish up with Clubhouse here. However, if Liquid just runs the gauntlet all the way up to 7, it's certainly going to be tough to come up with a theory as to how that comeback might happen on map number 2.
Yeah, I feel like we've barely just gotten warmed up, and these guys have almost completed the first map. This is insane, the speed run that we're seeing from both of these teams. In fact, as FaZe have been very aggressive on their offensive side, trying to secure these kills onto Liquid, but it was just Liquid time and time again punishing them for that aggression, or just finding their opening kills in a myriad of different ways. But now, obviously, with Liquid being on the offense, we'll see how they want to set pace on their clear. As Palu will start us off with the Cybertruck Hollow, one that you don't see every single day here. Be busting down the door and droning things out on the west side.
With a slow roll, of course. Don't want to be tripped up by any early aggressions from FaZe either, and we're not going to get a whole lot of that. FaZe have to give over a massive amount of respect to Liquid, just with how much they're controlling this early fragging department. Well, yes, that was from the other point of view. That was from the defensive side of this game. I think that's going to translate pretty well to the second half performance as well. Their players are on point right now when it comes to catching these early movements. There's not a whole lot that FaZe can do, especially on a basement play, to stop that from being true. So they have to rely on their actual insight setup in order to yield them a bit more success here and hopefully catch a member or two of Team Liquid getting a bit too aggressive, waltzing in, hopefully, one of the setups for the members of FaZe.
You're really looking to FaZe to try and get an opening blood here and slow down Liquid, as they have time and time again been able to pick off FaZe members and dictate how this map is going to be played. Hopefully the shoe's on the other foot now, but it's hard to say at the current moment as we're only a minute and 26 seconds remaining and nobody really dealing any damage just yet. It's just been map control going into the likes of Liquid as they clear things out with the drones and make sure no FaZe members are trying to go for a late flank just yet. As we know, FaZe are not afraid to do so, as we saw them do time and time again against Oxygen earlier on today. Paulo will continue breaking up the kitchen floor as he awaits Ass to drop in the Selmas onto the hatch. Need to open this up so they can get angles not only into the site, but possibility of a drop here as well. Impact out, and will it get it? Doesn't get it initially, as it will be busted up a singular time. Another impact out, and actually won't get the Selma 2 out, and FaZe missed the mark twice.
Good news is, it's Causes at least a considerable amount of delay for Liquid, so only getting it open at around the 40-second mark leaves them with a very small time bank to actually make the transition downstairs and get into the site. And Liquid don't seem too confident in this drop either. You can see them holding back. Palu's still trying to open up avenues of opportunity here. Nade's going to be banking into Church, but that's read pretty quickly by FaZe. However, it does force some respect and allow Ass to get himself in. Palu's second nade also manages to catch Souls, and now Nesk maintains position. Bullet responds and drops the plant. That's the big game changer they needed to possibly close out this round. Bullet's just going to keep on going as well. He's up to 3 for this one, and Cyber along with Astro will clean it up, as that's a definitive stance put down for FaZe at the start of the second half. We might not be done with Clubhouse just yet.
Well, at least for Bullet's sake, I can tell you that as he secures all of the frags necessary to pick up FaZe's second round, all from AK. Incredible stuff as Nesk has the overwatch, but not for this position right here. Bullet able to get away with murder on that one and find the plant all the way at the back of Armory. The only issue right now is, well, that's going to wipe out Church and Armory from their site rotation. It's already done. They've gotten the round, and now they have to go somewhere else. This time around, it will be CCTV. Obviously, the mirror won't be in play here, as Cyber will change that out. Mirror not exactly the greatest when it comes to this site, as you're really condensed when it comes to CCTV and cache. So much rather use the mute here to try and assist, not only with jamming these walls, but preventing some intel from coming into the site.
いや、別にちょっと太い気がするけど、もうちょっとここの部分が薄い方がリアルな工業製品っぽい感じはするけどね。まあまあいいんじゃないでしょうか。もうこの位置で、これで。こんなカバーか。カバーで終わり？これもしかして。ここカバーで終わり？形は終わり？ここにもなんかいるね。どうなってんやろな、これ。よくわからん。あと、QD のここにこいつを取り外すためのレバーがあるね。別にそんな適当に作ればいい。
FaZe certainly still on thin ice as they try to tread deeper into their defensive half.
Just an update for those curious that don't have the beauty of having 2 monitors at home. We do have an update from the Bravo stream. So if you're not into that kind of thing, make sure you mute now. All right, we've given you some time. It is currently 2-2 over on the Bravo stream as things are at a dead heat as they try to figure things out themselves. But as you guys know, it's a 5-2 score line, at least for us, coming into round 8. So we're a little ahead of Bravo at the current moment. Nesk will propel himself up to plat here as they've already gotten CCTV wall open.
ここにネジがあって、ネジのところにゴムを引っ掛けてこういう風にしてるんだけど、正直めんどくさいので、そういう作り方は。この蓋ってどんな形してんの？その蓋をこっちの形にして、男なんかでくっつけたらやる。その蓋はもうこれ。
Again, Liquid have handled this plenty of times in the past. They know how to approach it, but at the same time, doesn't necessarily guarantee that it will possibly fend it off here. So, gonna have to play this carefully, but not too carefully. As we saw on the previous round, Liquid taking arguably just a little bit too much time to set up for their aggressive play, and did not leave enough to clear out the interior of the basement site, ultimately allowing for lots of freedom for players like Bullet. And that was the opening, kind of the beginning of the end that allowed those players back in. Frag out as well. This time, though, Souls is going to be isolated out, bites off way more than he can chew inside of that fight. Virtually a 1v3 thrown at him, and he can't reconnect any of the damage on any members of Liquid either.
Yeah, a virtual firing squad awaiting him as soon as he stood up there from R1. Unfortunately enough for him, so he'll lose his life, and now Liquid have enough space to try and get something done inside of CCTV. But Ask has now lost his life as well. It's a 4 versus 4 as Liquid's looking to try and put a plant down. But is there any prevent here from FaZe? Well, they do have a couple of options, especially in the likes of Cyber and Bullet, who both have nades and cameras. That's why Liquid have sent Palu more than likely on this flank. He'll be discovered though from Astro playing inside of construction. PSK goes down. Nesk, he's going to continue to challenge forward. Cyber dead as he finds a couple other ones. Palu will get one as they crunch things, and oh my! Liquid, they just barrel over the top of FaZe. They can't keep him out of the the site, and they'll walk through there like they own the place.
Again, the strategy is perfect from Team Liquid there. The player inside of Cash was supposed to fend off that flank, working itself into the red stairs rotation point, but that player himself got pressured from the inside of CCTV, so he had to fall back into a safe corner, could no longer fend off the swing from Nesk, and that left Nesk open for the killing here against the players in Construction. And even in Construction, there was a whole other member of Liquid that was pinching from the other side over by Master. Fortunately for FaZe there, good start to the round, good delay, and it was getting a little dodgy towards the end of it, but ultimately, Liquid had all the intel needed to crunch out that setup and shut down the play.
And that is exactly what we've been talking about time and time again here at SI, John. Your ability on offense to be able to pull people to different sides of the site and force them to fight without their teammates is a very big deal. That's how Nesk gets so far into sight. There's just nobody at the top of red because they're having to deal with what's going on in Construction. There's way too many problems for them to solve, and Liquid are able to just spearhead their way into sight and run over FaZe. A fantastic round from them there as they have made it to the inevitable point here for one of these teams. 6 points as they're looking for their 7th to close this out at 7-2.
Divide and conquer is the path to victory upstairs, but will it be the same downstairs now for Liquid as we move into possibly our final round of the first map? But have 4 opportunities to close it down here before overtime is triggered as well. And so far, only 1 successful translation from FaZe on this defensive end. Things do not look great, but now they go towards a bar site where they're given a lot more freedom to play out, a lot more real estate to work with here, and hopefully greater capability to fend off Liquid. But as we already saw, Liquid, if they're given the time to build up intel, find out where the setup is going to be positioned towards, and FaZe don't have too many tricks up their sleeve, Liquid can contain it. They can pinch it out and shut down this setup to negotiate that 7th round and end our first map in relatively quick terms.
Not a single negative player at the moment for Team Liquid as they come out the gates here. 40 seconds already off the clock as they're taking their sweet time to make sure that they can do whatever is necessary to apply pressure to FaZe. Cyber, you might want to get off that camera there, bud, as this X-Kairos is about to go off, but fortunately enough for him, PSK isn't going to push it. It will be blown, and Cyber will be very aware of that as the explosion is directly to his rear. Paulu will be breaking up the castle barricade as well to try and get some insight as to what's going on inside of Construction. Astro will set things up here for a hop out for the master balcony.
Paulu, some awareness of it. He's going to try to stop the play from outside the window, but won't find much from that early on here. Remember, FaZe not feeling the need to leap out just as of yet. Cyber as well getting close by to the Construction window. There definitely seems to be a want to pinch this player, but it's going to be a matter of timing. Nesk catches the cross from Bullet as he tries to make a play and goes down instead here. Once again, the opening kill goes to Liquid.
Yes, indeed. Nesk now with a drone down low as well. He'll be able to find some extra information as to what's going on inside of the bar space and with the initial pick already. They really just need to lean into this info game. The case is on Ask, so make sure you guys are paying attention to his score at the left-hand side. As soon as that goes yellow, that means all hands on deck for Liquid as they try and put a plant down. Extra insight coming through now for Liquid as they'll begin working on the actual site. I believe that stage wall being blown here is Cyber will more than likely be droned out inside of Kitchen. PSK checking Meat Locker, but does he check to his left? He sees all the holes upstairs, and now he sees a Maestro inside of the Kitchen space as well. Look at that drone back out, but that's some very solid intel going into what could be the strategy in the dying moments here for Liquid.
Of dying moments, that's what Liquid is going to use to try and get themselves into the site yet again. I was worried about this on the previous 2 rounds, but not so much anymore. It seems Liquid have their wits about them in a lot of circumstances. The flash blinding out Cyber, basically handing the duel over to PSK. And with Ask finding another entry, FaZe are down to only 2 members remaining here. Cameraman and Astro, never mind, just Cameraman are all that can clutch this out in what would need to be a 1v5. There's one, but that's it. As Paulu closes out on a flawless round from Liquid, a nearly flawless map. It is flawless in terms of their entry capability as they get the first kill on every single round, even the 2 that they lost, and absolutely decimate the early, mid, and late game here against FaZe to take the opening map of the series 7-2.
ジェットの
Before this game, Grixer ended up pulling ahead of Nesk by I believe 6 kills for his KD difference. And wouldn't you know it, Nesk immediately bounces back to the top of the scoreboard. 11-5 folks there on Clubhouse, and FaZe gobsmacked after that 7-2 loss to Liquid.
See the chats going on over there just before we switch back to us. They are not happy about the results from that match. But why would you be? You can never get on the board with that opening kill. Can barely retaliate to it in most circumstances. And in quite a few of those rounds in the second half, just bowing down, letting Liquid walk in, even with their sight set up fully uninterrupted. Still, Liquid are tearing it to shreds with barely any trades over the course of the round. That last one, once again, flawless for Team Liquid. Just like the first half, things didn't get better. They got progressively worse for FaZe as the map went on, and that is bad news for them, as that wasn't, or excuse me, as we're going to get ready to go on to their opponent's map pick for our upcoming map on Oregon.
Yes, it's going to be a very scary sight here, but something has to give. Or will Liquid continue to roll over FaZe? We really don't know, but there's only one way to find out, folks. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.
でって感じやねんけどな。これなんかこう縁取りした方がなんか、もしサブディビジョンとかするとき綺麗になるって言うんやったらこの辺もちゃんとやるよって話やけど、まあまあまあまあまあ、もちろん綺麗なんじゃないですかっていう。一緒やけどな、別にそんなテクスチャーあったときは一緒になるからええんやけど。結局ってちまちまするんよね。試合終わっちゃった。どっちが勝ったんやろ。TSM が勝ってたけどな。なんか靴の裏みたいになった。強い。正直すっげえダサい形してるんやけど、ゼロ入れたら元に戻るので、この状態でポンってして、ポンってしましょう。このカバーなのでちょっとこうしなきゃいけません。こうやったところでこっちに持ってくるんかな、これを。あ、そうやったらこっち って。シミュレート。
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Time to hop into map number 2 here in our inter-regional Latin match. Even say it's an inter-group matchup too, as it's a rematch from Group B here. Team Liquid up against FaZe Clan. It looked like it might be a quick one as well, with Liquid absolutely running over FaZe's attempt to stop them back on Clubhouse. We get ready to move into Liquid's own map pick now over on Oregon for map number 2.
Yeah, it looks to be pretty scary as well, as Oregon tends to lean, just like CCTV and as everything else on Clubhouse, pretty defensive-sided. So we'll have to see what FaZe can possibly do on this map, but here is the onslaught that we just witnessed from Team Liquid onto FaZe. It was a pretty incredible matchup, especially for Ask and Nesk. I mean, just look at the opening stats here, guys, that a single opening kill going the way of FaZe Clan.
It's not even on like one player just dominating the entry as well. It's every single person, except for PSK obviously, getting at least one of those kills over the course of this matchup here, and not a single member of FaZe able to respond to it. How do you respond to that type of a loss now when you can't even get the round started 9 times in a row here? FaZe Clan have to give over so much respect to Team Liquid, but at the same time have to find ways to get into the site on their attacks, have to find ways to slow down the pacing on their defense, but they just can't do it right now. Liquid is controlling every aspect of it, minimum the early round, and in a lot of cases how these rounds play out as we get deeper and deeper into them as well. This is a huge problem for FaZe, and I don't know if they're going to be able to solve it. This could be a very quick end to their upper bracket run.
Yeah, especially if you're a stat junkie and you believe in cost, especially 67% was the highest for FaZe. That means that you're not even being useful in 3/4 of your round. That's really, really tough when it comes to FaZe in the moment. And the problem is that, well, that was Liquid's lowest percentage across the board. They really have nothing to do inside of these rounds at the moment. It's very hard fought for them, but Liquid time and time again are picking them to pieces. And the biggest problems right now are Nesk and Ask, the IGL for Liquid. Again, getting his hands dirty inside of these rounds and always finding these huge frags that have some very serious influence. But luckily enough for us folks, we don't have to wait too long for our second map. Oregon's right here, and it's right now between Liquid and FaZe.
All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Can we see a miraculous rebound from FaZe? Can they awaken themselves and fight against this absolutely lethal Liquid roster that's suddenly come alive themselves here in the playoff stage? Or will Liquid just continue to run
リオ5なんかな？違うわ。
They faced off against time after time again inside of Latin America. FaZe should know how to play against this team, but they seemingly haven't got a horse in this race at this point. Bans are in, at least the first one, of course. No huge surprises there. Same for our second. Thatcher is going to follow suit.
Interesting enough, we did
サッチャーなんか常にバンされてるイメージあるな。まあ強すぎるか。カウンターおらへん。カウンターおらへんっていうか、すべてのカウンターもんな。
Liquid as well, making a lot of sense with that Thatcher ban coming through. So we'll see if FaZe want to get rid of something. More than likely going to be Mira or Valkyrie, I would assume. But we've seen some pretty unique bans here at LAN. So don't just trust me outright. Let's see exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be Warden, and this is what I was talking about. We could see something being thrown in the works here from FaZe. They'll be starting off with this, but you know what this means, John.
What, a lot of Ying?
Oh yes, yes indeed. It has to be the Ying play. No one really banning Warden to go smoke plant nowadays. It's all about those Candelas and the amount of flashes that those things send into a room that makes it nigh impossible to see a single damn thing. We'll see if Liquid are going to abuse that and work that into their strategy, or exactly what will happen. We're through the initial phase here, as the 6-pick phase will come through. PSK will adopt something, and yes, indeed, here comes the Ying.
At the same time, we're also going to see Mute-Mozzie combo come in, so FaZe trying to deny as much intel as possible. That's a good adjustment when you consider how much Liquid was relying on intel built up in the early round in order to make their attacks so successful. Plenty of times where Liquid was sitting in a kind of scary situation with only like 30 seconds left and virtually no control near the site. Basically just set up outside of it, ready to start their execute, but oftentimes teams are not really able to make that workable. However, Liquid, because of their great intel game, was oftentimes able to do so because they had this surgical method for inserting themselves into the site and isolating out the members of FaZe and their setups one by one by one. By hopefully having these, not only these pests, but the mute jammers blocking off access points to the sites, it's going to make it a little more difficult to acquire that intel that can allow Liquid to set up for those types of executes.
Yes, indeed, my friend. We'll see if that's going to help or hinder our friends here inside of the game as of right now. Liquid with a pretty cheeky drone there, if you guys caught it. There's one inside of dorms upstairs, inside of one of the bunks, so they'll have some early insight as to what's going on inside of that space. As Liquid are out of the gates and onto the map. They're ready for war when it comes to Oregon, as Palu will botch a drone here as he tries to throw it ahead of him. But luckily enough, that isn't just gonna like break it or anything like that. He can just continue to move that into the site. Only 20 seconds off the board here as Liquid will begin gathering information across the entirety of the map to see what FaZe are doing with this extended hold.
オレゴンっていうっけ、ここ。
So slow built again. Should be no surprise to anybody who watched the first map here. Liquid certainly taking their time about things. I'm curious to see how this tower hold's going to work out for Astro. He's even got a mirror window committed to this one to fend off any potential early clears that would come in through Master and allow him to fire back in from the attic side. But at the moment, not looking like it's going to align too well with Liquid's own early intentions as they're pushing into tower. And that's more than likely going to pressure Astro out of this pretty darn quickly.
Well, the big scare right now is how does this end up breaking down around this space. Fortunately for Astro, he'll remember to get rid of the black mirror, so he'll be able to work the angle the opposite way this time and not put himself into trouble. It's going to be resets inside of this space, but are they going to drone out the actual attic? Seemingly no information at the time, but Bullet with the very first opening blood for FaZe inside of this matchup as he'll take down Mask all the way outside by Big Tower. Liquid have not been able to get too much done besides clearing out that Big Tower space, as they'll continue to look for where they could possibly plant and these FaZe members, but most of them already working their way back to site, except for the one player upstairs.
Big Tower can, in theory, be enough of an execute potential if you're going to just try to waltz your way in through the back of the stage door, but you need to make sure you have pressure to counteract that hallway flank for the players that inside of Kitchen will almost certainly try to swing out against you. And again, Liquid do have that with still 4 players standing here. It's a pretty simplistic take, but it can work quite often here. It's again going to use utility to start harassing the players further back towards the Kitchen position, and of course, the smoke off to allow the first plant attempt to go in. Candela's also, the responses from FaZe still yet to be seen as another nice nade lands, nearly takes out Bullet, and the plant perfect from Liquid. It goes down on the ground, and now they just have to set up and wait for the retake attempt from FaZe here. That Ask is already going to start putting down with the first pick against Souls.
PSK's got a drone inside of meeting as well to make sure that Liquid don't simply have to face check this. A fantastic spot for Palu as well, as he'll hold one upstairs and just continue to play the window. Can he win out the second? Oh, he can. Dastardly in the moment. Nitro Cell out. It won't be able to get any damage onto the Liquid member for Astro as he's diced up as well. Cyber resets, gets it, and Liquid get the round.
3 out of 5 of those final engagements there. You see members of FaZe trying to take duels. They look away at just the wrong moment, and inside of that moment, a member of Liquid comes swinging out right when they can't see him and knocks it out of the play. Beautiful stuff once again. Surgical execution from Liquid. Great usage of their utility. The smoke and Candela combo is perfect to fend off all that kitchen aggro. FaZe can do nothing virtually about the planet temp without taking a huge risk on their own lives, and let's hark back to map number 1 here. Every time they try to make a risk like that, it would lead to a player dying, so they're not going to try and do it here. They let Liquid get the plant, they let them set up in a near perfect post-plant scenario, and FaZe just bow down to it as they try futilely to force themselves back in.
I mean, you especially got to give it up to Palu there in the way that he played that attic position, not playing it inside a tower, playing out on the balcony for attic instead. No one's going to check that. That window gets opened every single time that this round is played, I'm telling you. So it's such a common
これで
place
でき
thing
る
that
か
they're
な
not even
無理
aware
かな
that someone could
無理
possibly
か
be in that space, and it even catches FaZe off guard. We're talking about professional players here, folks. Incredible stuff from Liquid on that one. Is we're going to need to see a successful defense at some point from FaZe, and they might be second guessing this Warden ban after a handful of these rounds if they continue to go this way.
Talk more about that in a little bit here, but it's going to be another basement assault, or rather the first basement assault for Team Liquid here as FaZe went for a bit of a curveball on their first site choice over towards meeting, which quite obviously, guys, did not pan out there. This one's a bit more traditional. This one's a little bit easier for the defense to control here, but even then, FaZe, I saw a couple players kind of roaming around upstairs towards the first and second floor position, and it's looked like we still have that. However, as we have seen from Liquid, paying no mind to those extensions in at least a few of these rounds here, so might just try to brute force their way past it, as we have 3 players already built up towards construction doors.
PSK will be getting some early insight inside of this space. Palu, nobody playing inside of the lower area here around the stairwell. Souls, luckily enough, will try and challenge, but he's been droned out now as well, afraid that somebody could come in above him as they're getting rid of the Banshee, and they can continue to pressure. Souls will hop over into Harry Potter now as cameraman climbs down the stairwell, trying to assist his teammates. Some damage dealt, but Cyber will be the first one with a frag as he'll take out resets. Palu with the refrag, but Cyber yet again here as Ask doubles back, but does he get the other frag? Cyber out of bullets as Ask continues to try and challenge. We'll see cameraman come down the back stairwell as well to try and assist as PSK will slip through the cracks. He's in the back end, but there's no rotate inside this space. Ask is all alone. PSK now with some space. They don't. He's gonna be able to pick up one, and he almost gets the second. Down to Cyber now, up against Ask. Very low HP as PSK crawls away, but he doesn't have any other avenues to be able to abuse. He has to go straight for this. Stuns out, he stuns himself as well. That could have been the challenge necessary as Cyber doubles back over. Ask will as well, and he's found him. What a clutch from Ask as he continues to show face up in this matchup.
FaZe are playing checkers, Team Liquid are playing 4-dimensional chess. Sorry, I got the meme wrong for a second, but either way, Liquid are shutting down FaZe and are continuing to dominate here. A massive streak coming in for them, even accounting for the previous map at this point. It is all Team Liquid side through the defensive side. Once again, even with an early fight advantage going all the way to FaZe there, I thought they were going to get crunched. I thought the ignorance of the upstairs hold was going to come back to bite Team Liquid, but again, Ask makes it work in an incredible clutch scenario, out-positions his opponent there, uses the flashes to mask rotates, and is able to get into a winning scenario there, despite only having like 5 HP as well. Beautifully done by Team Liquid, and even better from Ask.
Who needs an LMG? Who needs an ARX? Who needs anything? I'll take a thermite any day, fragging out of his mind. Insane stuff happening from Ask right now as quite a bit of this member of Liquid here at SI. This guy is 19 years old, and this is what he's doing on an international stage in front of all of you at home. This is incredible stuff that we are witnessing here in the moment. FaZe have got to do something up against this madman. We'll see if they can do it here in round 3, as once again they'll move away from the last site that they played and they'll go upstairs to kids' dorms.
Praying at this point that one of these sites is going to end up working out for them as they desperately transition from site to site to site, hoping to find better pastures, greener pastures to pick up one round for themselves here. But at the moment, it's been 2 very, very dominant ones from Team Liquid. While the last one was close, keep in mind, Liquid pled ignorance to FaZe's extended setup, so they knew what they were doing there. They knew it was going to be close because of that one, and still ended up out on top there, despite the disadvantage taken in the early fights. See Cyber trying to pre-pop the small tower windows to leap out, and he is going to go for it for a second here, but quickly jumps back inside. Maybe something later to be built up upon that. However, it could have been possibly relying on a bit of a gambit of someone else from Liquid being out and about towards that window, so not going to find them early on here. Ask chucking in the nade from below, not going to find anything with that, unfortunately. We will see the walk-in deal, excuse me, that was to deal with a mute jammer, I think, that was sitting behind the wall there, as I didn't exactly line up the position mentally too quickly. But either way, deals with it successfully. Now Liquid will have that first EXO blowing up the walk-in wall.
And people have gotten so good with frag grenades that they don't even need Zofia or Buck to do that anymore. They'll just do it themselves. The Souls, he's catching so much fire from Dorb's window. He's gonna try and cross here as it feels like FaZe can do no right while Liquid does no wrong. Incredible questionable stuff, at least for Liquid start yet again here, as they deal some serious damage to him. Cyber will be able to hold on to small tower though, and this could be the stick going in the tires very, very soon here for Liquid if they don't worry about this flank. But luckily for Palu, he is going to rotate off instead. Reset's starting to take some damage as well, as Astro will be inside of this space in Attic. Bullet now trying to take a fight with Resets all the way outside, but can he win it? Back and forth, they're both on equal HP. Knowing that there is one upstairs, but oh my god, Ask is inside once again, and he's dealing damage to FaZe. Cameraman down as he backs up and out. Palu will push ahead as FaZe, they can't shut the door on him. Astro knows where one is, but Palu does as well, and they finally are able to take out one. Cyber doubles back, but he's down on low HP. Bullet has to do something about this. They're both so very low. Resets down low, he's down the top player, and again, we've asked for FaZe to do literally anything in this moment, but now it's up to Bullet inside of a 1 versus 3.
Finally catching Resets there, but at the same time, Cyber going to be finished off. Bullet waiting from down below here. He does have a Nitro in his pocket. Will he catch the play? It's out, but it's way off the mark here. So no dice on the Nitro. That was the saving grace for this team. But with Liquid giving the FaZe roster, the FaZe setup inside of dorms, absolutely zero respect. It wouldn't have mattered anyway here. There was still so much time left on the clock. And Bullet now sat in a desperate scenario here. He's just going to try to stat pad, I think, and they'll use this extra 35 seconds or so to be able to build up a little bit of intel, allow their IGL to give out some encouragement, hopefully some advice about how to play this one out. As this round is done and dusted, Liquid are looking at an easy third one. They're going to continue to build up a massive advantage.
I have some advice. Run. That's my advice. This is just terrifying what Liquid are able to produce here inside of this best of 3, not only on Club, but also on Oregon. Ask with the pistol whip. He runs across Kitchen, right onto his tailcoats. The bullets come, but he's got that pistol whip ready as he'll take out the remaining FaZe member. Liquid up 3.
So going to be a pause here, which we pretty much could see that coming from a mile away with the lack of an attempt to clutch out the 1v3. So let's take a look at how exactly FaZe is going to try to come back from this. What can they do, as nearly every single aspect of this game is going wrong for them right now?
It's just so impossible at the moment because FaZe are trying to play this close to the chest. They're trying to do what their strategy asks of them, but Liquid are finding these holes, especially Ask. No one expects the Thermite of all people to be the entry onto this site, John. He's the first one in there. No one knows that he's going to be pushing in through the breach. No one's even watching the damn thing. He walks in, walks to the top of White, claims a kill, and then just leaves. He just walks back to the breach, and he's like, all right, guys, we got the first kill. Here's the next step. Palu in through window. Let's kill the guy in door. Oh, he's dead too. I mean, it is absolutely insane at the current moment. FaZe have a lot to talk about.
マジか。もう3立てされるぞ。ストレートで負けるぞ、フェイス。応援してるわけじゃないけど。
With Liquid having the results from the first map in their backpack, they feel, if anything, even more confident to make those types of plays, given how well it went for them inside of our first map back on Clubhouse. Ask, as you can see, leading the charge right now for his team at 6-1, with the rest of his teammates not being too far behind, as everybody else has a fairly respectable scoreline as well. Ness actually 0-2 at this point, but it doesn't even matter with the results that Liquid are putting out here.
Absolutely the case, my friend. This is unprecedented, especially with what you and I witnessed the last time. I mean, John, we watched these two probably play some of the worst Siege that I've seen these two teams play ever. Inside of this, this LAN here. It was actually absurd.
Like 3 days ago.
Yeah, actually absurd the things that we were seeing. FaZe making huge mistakes, jumping out of windows and not diffusing. People nading each other. People just simply not watching flank. And then this is what we get out of Liquid. They've leveled up. They're on a whole new caliber of play in comparison to FaZe, and they just simply can't compete in the moment.
Only irons the point home that the group stage was truly a warm-up for some of our teams here, and now only inside of this playoff stage are they really going to start ripping and roaring, trying to fend off all opponents as quickly as possible in order to set up a big advantage for them here in the upper bracket. Liquid even coming into this one with a bye, so this is just their first matchup so far of this playoff stage here. FaZe having to contend against Oxygen earlier. Yeah, didn't seem to have too much of a problem dealing with them, but now struggling massively versus Team Liquid, making very little progress, and in fact regressing in some aspects from the matchup in the groups a few days back.
Oh, resets will add to the drone pool here as they continue to try and find extra information to influence this mid-game now. Cheeky spot here for the Smoke as he'll be all the way upstairs of all things for a Smoke player inside of dorms. Yes, indeed, folks, you are not being deceived. This is indeed a basement site defense. Cameraman here in a pretty cheeky spot. I believe he's got the SMG-11 shotgun in hand, so we'll have to see exactly what he can possibly muster from this position. Obviously, Liquid not really knowing that this will be going on as they haven't droned out the full map like they traditionally do. They're just trying to go for the site instead, and this could come back to bite them. This could be where we see the turn from FaZe, depending on how this goes for our Smoke.
So it's been a slower process this time for Liquid here. They do have to proceed quite traditionally in order to get themselves access to the basement because of the more normal setup we're going to get from FaZe inside of this round here. Hopefully giving them enough player count inside of the site to be able to fend off this action from Liquid that they're eventually going to commit to. But at the same time, with Liquid not having much in the way, blocking their intel game specifically, you can see this. No mute jammers present this time for the defense. No Mozzie Pest going to be blocking off the drones either. They'll be completely free to just flood some of these pivotal areas with that intel and allow for them to build up a plan to assault this. However, limited options to actually get themselves into the basement between the hatches. And what is that? Nesk walking up there, not accounting for Cameraman's position, still extended out here. That's going to take him down as we got the rest of Liquid working their way in. Still going to have to watch out for the descent from Nesk, but at the same time, they've evened it back out. Souls now bringing his own heat to the table, though, as he finds resets, and things looking a lot better for FaZe all of a sudden, but you can't count Liquid out as usual here. Ask with another exchange, and Cameraman coming back down the stairs. This is looking a lot more workable here for our defenders.
Absolutely absurd that the Smoke on Rome is what's going to put Liquid away here, but yes, indeed, Astro will take down Ask, and it's all left up to Palu. 6-2 at the moment. If he can get it done, it'll be 9 kills for him, but the move already done from Astro, but he's out of bullets. Oh no! He's got the pistol though to secure it, and that'll be the very first round here for FaZe.
Much stronger stance here from FaZe, feigning the fact that it would just be a default hold on the inside of the site.
こうなるからこうなってるの嫌いなんよね。直感的にできないから。お前良くないんやろうな。効率がだいぶ悪いんやろうな。
As you can see, quite a few of these situations, members of Liquid either completely ignoring or just not being aware, specifically of Cameraman's position, but a few others as well, sneaking them in a bit too haphazard from Liquid. And it's going to cost them their first round here, still leading at 3-1, but also locking down the first site from FaZe. They're going to make a return upstairs for this upcoming round and head to the double dorms.
It'll be dorms again without a Jaeger as Cyber will pick up Valkyrie. We'll have my discs in order to be able to handle other things coming in onto this site setup. As for the remainder of FaZe's setup here, we will have Astro back onto the Malusi here. So more than likely have these Banshees placed around to try and get in front of Liquid and make sure that they cannot be as dynamic in their push as they once were. We'll have to see if that works up against them as they've looked quite strong, and I don't know if that last round will be enough to slow them down, but we'll just have to see. As for Liquid though, we'll have PSK with the Nomad coming into play, and something that they will definitely be looking into more than likely for the remaining rounds, as FaZe able to get away with way too much on that roam.
Priming themselves for spawn in just a second here, but FaZe not necessarily giving us any huge surprises in their own setup. Just your usual double kids dorms, or double dorms hold rather. We'll see just a few more is being reinforced as we get towards the end of that prep phase and into the action. As Liquid spawn themselves out here. A couple stragglers going to be left down below here. Cyber and Bullets will be putting a little bit of aggression out from the kitchen and Yellow Hall area to try and stop the initial clear from Liquid themselves. Look at that opening kill yet again here to give them the respectable distance they need to trade out in a worst case scenario on the site in order to win here and make the scoreline a little bit closer to what would be a 3-2. Nesk, of course, catching on to this. He's going to spot out some of the counteraction coming in here from Cyber. Won't bite into it just yet, but at the same time, he's not going to be alone, so there's a possibility we could see this player get pinched out, especially with Ask now lining up his own position over towards the White Stairs window. Cyber still wants the heat, but it's going to be Nesk instead that grabs Bullet closer towards Kitchen.
Unfortunate for FaZe now as they've lost the opening blood here. It was 2 for 2 back and forth, but Liquid pull ahead with 3. They know one's still here as Nesk will get down, but Cyber gets dusted, and oh no, it's all for naught now. It's a 5 versus 2, and Nesk wasn't confirmed. He'll be picked back up. He can use the Gemini to assist now to try and clear out most of this. FaZe only having their 2 members remaining. Luckily enough for one, it's Cameraman. As well, Souls will take the initial duel here against Ask outside on the master balcony, but does he know that the pressure's coming up the stairwell? He does. He'll take down Palu. Tries to add to it, but Ask is too good in this situation. This will shut him down. Cameraman knows that he more than likely has to start trying to pressure here. He's trying to look for his isolated one-on-one. He finds a drone. He'll be able to get rid of that, and he'll smoke off this eventually once Dorm's pressure starts to come in, or rather Trophy. He'll move back to Dorms now. Another smoke out here, but that was exactly what PSK wanted. Liquid claim round 5, and they'll get there.
So a bump in the road on their second assault towards the basement, but immediate correction coming in from Liquid as they're able to take top control yet again here. FaZe trying to take the fight to them, trying to out-aggro this very aggressive Team Liquid. And that goes pretty much as you guys would expect it, with Liquid controlling every single facet of that round yet again, only tripping up very slightly, losing 1 or 2 players over the course of it here. 4-1 is the scoreline. Liquid looking at a possible repeat of the same scoreline, same halftime score this is from our opening map. They can claim 1 final round here, as FaZe are going to make another return to the meeting hall hold for the first time since this game started.
Now, with that being said, there's something that's very fortunate about this in comparison to the very first round, and it's that Liquid do not have Ying inside of their operator pool for this one. And that really was the biggest thing, the biggest tool that Liquid used in order to claim that round. If you guys remember, Bullet got the opening blood on that, and then FaZe had to try and retake with both ends of Split smoked off and Candela's going off like crazy inside of the site. It made it nigh impossible to actually push back in and try and get any vision because, well, all you'd be seeing is white. And for Liquid, that made things extremely easy for them to not only get the plant down, but set up for a perfect post-plant situation, especially for Palu upstairs on the meeting, or rather attic window. As of right now, looks like we will be having some very similar setup here for FaZe, as it will be controlling this top floor for the time being.
So Liquid up 4-1 now over the FaZe roster. FaZe once again going to bring a fairly expected lineup to the table for the defensive start on this one. Really looking to mitigate the utility being chucked in. It's a good thing they bring that as well, because the switch up for Liquid, as Stokes was mentioning there, away from smokes and away from the Candelas, and instead relying on 3 sets of frag grenades that have now been brought to the table. You guys can see that utility at your top left. It's 2 frag grenades per player here. So just do the math real quickly, and you'll see exactly how it's been lined up for our attackers. I'm gonna have to hope now that the ADSs on top of the MAYA discs are going to be enough to mitigate the large majority of those, as certainly Liquid should be capable of bringing that surgical play, be able to get those nades in the right place. And with the flashes being brought as an insurance policy, Liquid themselves might even have a plan to deal with these extra forms of mitigation. You can see some of them being flashed in now. This is going to be a distraction for the noise cue. Placing down the XO, going to be able to get that off. Of course, it'll be disabled, I think, temporarily here, but still going to see it go off relatively quickly in just a second here as soon as that fades away. Cameraman with the big swing at the big window, though, gets the first kill of this round as he's going to find resets over by Dorms.
Well, luckily enough for Liquid, they have switched things up as they'll be going for a kitchen attack instead. Biggest issue now is that they don't have any top control just yet. The smokes will continue to go off on white, preventing Nesk from taking a hold of this location. PSK trying to work his way up the main stairs here, as well as Astro could have a possibility of a flank as the shotgun coming in. Cameraman will dust Nesk on very low HP, but unfortunately for Nesk, no shots coming out of that ARS, or rather ARS. ARX, dude, it's so dry in here.
Your mouth just doesn't want to work.
Like the Sahara Desert in here, my friend. But either way, Palu will be next up to the plate as, well, the flank will work out here for FaZe. And fortunately enough, so will the round. A flawless one for them. They desperately needed on this defensive half as they make things a little bit easier on me going into the dying moment.
Yeah, much more respectable outcome to that round 2 for FaZe Clan here, and kind of, an obvious point as they end up flawless on that one. Liquid, for the first time in this entire series, have their wits cut out from under them. A clothesline as they try to make any type of move in that final round, and that's going to be a huge confidence boost to FaZe, but at the same time, Their time in the sun is now up on this defensive end of our very defender-sided map. And now they have to get ready to jump onto the attack, where Liquid will probably reignite some more of that crazy capability that we have been seeing inside of the first half here. They still should have plenty of confidence to try and pull these types of moves against FaZe, even on a site like this, as they're going to go immediately into a basement play.
And this is where things could change up for FaZe. They were able to get 2 rounds on their defensive side, and obviously with the Warden ban coming in, the Candelas from Yang are going to meet in quite a bit, as we saw for Liquid's offenses as well. So this is probably going to help out FaZe quite a bit. We'll have to see if they can get control of the space for meeting initially and try to get these Candelas down towards pillars and things along those lines, but that's for later on into the round. For now, Liquid are setting up the basement in the way that they so choose. And they'll be bringing a mirror along for the ride as well. Palu will be setting up these mirrors, one inside of a closet, more than likely one over on the freezer wall, just so they have extra insight as to what's going on in that space. And then we will get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's take a look and see if they're going to be able to catch any of these roamers from Liquid. Most notably Nesk at this point here, playing the small tower counter.
下にもあるけど、下もやるか、これ。
But FaZe have these preset drones ready to start scouting in that direction here, hopefully finding out the positions of the members from Team Liquid here. Some time though before we see all that intel start to work its way out, and actually look like the large majority of players from Liquid that were going to be fooling around upstairs have now had second thoughts about it, and instead we go towards a more traditional sort of anchor setup here instead for our defensive roster.
Yes, indeed. And for FaZe, Astro now for the Rotero drones to start clearing up some of Liquid's utility, making things a little bit easier for them. Cameraman will begin torching the hatches as well as the Rotero drones go down the stairwell and look to see if it can get rid of anything like Banshees or anything of the sort. And that's exactly what it will do, is it will destroy the Banshee on the island, which could be a telltale sign of a laundry freezer take. But we'll just have to see. They definitely still have plenty of time to be able to shift this wherever they so please. Bull just looking for a kill in the current moment. He'll pre-fire as of right now, but nobody home inside of the space, as Souls, with no smoke, secondary hard breach will get the hatches for FaZe.
Can opener being used to open up that fairly quickly, and PSK whipping a bit there and trying to get his shots on the Rotero drone. All good, as I believe it wastes the drone, knocking out no utility in the process anyway. Yep, so there was a Banshee. Thank you very much to our observer for confirming that for me real quick. I saw it in the corner of my eye, but wasn't sure if it managed to catch it, but indeed did. So in fact, the Rotero working out quite nicely, as they're going to try to pop out another one here as well, and also use the soft breach to open up another window into the E-drop.
Bullet now with some nades. Is there any ADSs inside of this space, though? We're about to find out, more than likely. Ask now stuns coming in onto him inside of Elbow. He'll continue to smoke things out as Cyber will set an air jab down onto the ground here for the construction door. PSK, though, more than likely won't be rotating there anytime soon, as FaZe have basically lobbed off this entire section of the map. Now, actually, PSK has made the cross because he killed Astro. But will the air jab be able to find him? That's the big question. He's worked it into the corner. Nitro sell out. PSK glaringly aware of the push, but it's actually Ask that grabs him instead. We'll have the Candelas come out as FaZe is falling to pieces. They'll jump in, look for the frags. They'll find one, but not before the refrag comes in from Nesk. Ask to grab the last kill, and Liquid to grab round 7.
There's too few players getting into that site too late into it. You can see them split up just to try and negotiate even a chance to get site control there. The trade setup's far too strong for Liquid, and things go just like you would expect them to. Just like we were seeing back on our first map on Clubhouse, as Liquid immediately rebound, falling short just a bit there towards the end of the first half, but now in control once again at a 5-2 scoreline. Only 2 away now from controlling the entire series in very quick fashion. 7-2 overall for this map here. The site is going to shift itself, not towards, at least for an EU and NA perspective, the expected second site here, as normally we'll see teams go upstairs instead. Shouldn't be surprising, though, considering the way we already saw FaZe play out their own defensive half. They're going to head onto our first floor hold towards meeting once again. Let's see if this will work out for them.
Yes, indeed. Meeting, a pretty unique site when it comes down to it, especially with the hatch play that comes in through Medium, where you can see some Nitro cells poured in from the basement. But that's not what we saw from FaZe. Might not see it from Liquid either, as Liquid was able to get that stage plant down and make things seem pretty easy in the process. Obviously, Liquid will be extending this hold upstairs to make sure that FaZe cannot run amok over their defensive setup, and this is actually going to be quite extensive as we have a deployable shield with some yokai runs from Palu, as well as some banshees around the space from resets in order to make things a little bit easier, not only to slow down a phase, but also for the info game for these players that are in more of these strenuous positions.
FaZe out on the field, what's going to be their plan to get control? What's going to be their plan to figure out the types of setups that Liquid have deployed towards? Once again, it's not too crazy for Liquid here, as they won't throw out anything that is brand new for the actual positioning and the overall setup that they will bring to the table. But FaZe still have to be very, very cautious about how they proceed, considering the very mixed results they have had on openers. Even just looking back at map number 1, not a single opening kill going in their favor. They need these desperately to negotiate for some type of positioning against Liquid. We can see both Nesk and PSK taking the front spots here in the meeting room site. That will need to be cleared out or flushed out in some way before FaZe can even realistically think about taking it. And that's not even accounting for the upstairs hold in Attic also.
Yes, indeed. As FaZe begin to work their way into the map, some air jabs downstairs to make sure no one can rotate up the big tower stairs to try and do anything to these FaZe members as they begin breaking up the site. Big jammer down, but luckily enough, the Rotero drone short, so it'll still go off. So blow open the stage wall. They're more than likely well aware of the situation at the current moment, at least now, especially if the stage wall has been blown. So we'll see how they would like to respond. Still have top control here as the stuns start to pour in. Rather smokes from Souls as he's looking to go for the smoke plant soon. One of them will be grabbed by a Wamai disc, I do believe, as they try to nade in through the space to make sure no one's inside of sandbags. But it's only PSK that's home for the current moment. Trying to look for another frag in the moment if he can find another frag grenade out, but it's actually Bullet to hit his frags instead. It's a 5 versus 4 now as FaZe still try and make some space to try and put this plant down.
Extra for 4 from Liquid here to try to play out into the open. Comes back to bite them, but at the same time, Ness downing out Souls in the Toxic Bay, blocking the path forward. Gets the confirmation. The exchange is found. Liquid are right back into it. Even worse, the case is now down on the ground too, but they continue to peek into these fights here. Members of FaZe respond, but so does Liquid. Immediately seeing Palu pick up the exchange onto Bullet, keeping us even in a 3v3 here. Cameraman lurking out on the inside. He's got his chance for a plant now, but does he have enough support to try and risk it here still, as there's more members from Liquid waiting right around the corner of the connector. Here we go. They'll attempt to put it down onto the ground. Ness cannot spot it here, and Cyber is going to be able to take out resets. More and more members of FaZe getting into secure Overwatch positions here, and it's left everything onto Palu, who also is going to get swiped off of this round by Cameraman. A response from FaZe is found, and we are right back where we started here at a +2 round advantage for Liquid.
Very well done from FaZe there. I love the way that they worked the map and were able to secure most of tower, making it very difficult for Liquid to try and rotate into them. Some very big pickups on the kitchen end as well, as Palu tried to fight back, but unfortunately unable to for Liquid's sake. As for FaZe, they're able to stave off match point, which they desperately needed to do in the moment, and now only 2 rounds away from tying us up here, but a seriously long road ahead of them, especially when it comes to the frag department. Ask has been popping off as well as Palu, and they really need to get the show on the road.
If anyone else from Liquid wants to join the party here, it would pretty much seal the deal. We would have so much firepower being brought to the table for this team. Just not really sure if FaZe would be able to contend with that. That was what we saw out of Liquid inside of map number 1. A few players, most notably Ness and Resets, struggling inside of map number 2. Resets, of course, can be forgiven to some extent, but Nesk, not necessarily the case. This is a big player for Liquid and a big player globally, looking at statistics as well. We expect better from him, so we'll see if he'll maybe have a bit of a late map contribution as he's able to come alive a bit more.
Michael will be headed up toward dorms for this one, and Ask with a pretty interesting pick for his primary weapon. He'll be bringing the super. Don't get to see this one too often, as I believe we're all pretty used to the MP5.
キーボードで言ってるけど、もうキーボードがクソなんと机も椅子もクソのせいで姿勢が悪くなってめっちゃ痛いわ、腕。あ、いや
Nesk have, but they might be using those for prevention or things along those lines. As for FaZe, they're now out and about on the map here, and they'll be clambering their way towards the top end here as they start to warm up this drone game and find some extra insight onto the Liquid squad.
そうか。どうなってんの？クソか。裏でゲームやってるけど、クソゲーをやってるから、クソっていう感想しか出ない。CG やってへんやんけって話だけど、まあまあ別に考えたこと
kind of a big risk decided this matter to put all three of them kind of scrambled together like that, but either way, the choice is made and the consequences are now dealt with for Liquid here. And Nesk has to fall back more than likely from his garage position.
I was gonna say, if you wanted to know if Flores was a good operator or not, there you go. That's basically all you needed to see. PSK gonna take a lick of damage from that, but only a lick, nothing more than that. Liquid will be able to at least stay alive for the time being. The Yokai drones finding some insight as to what's going on Master, so they know this is starting to look more like a Kid Storm's offense than anything. As well, Palu will be able to continue holding on the trophy for a time here. Cameraman still manning the Kid's dorm space. They'll be able to get one in down low and start looking for arm range just in case somebody does start to try and rotate over to this area. That Yokai will go inside of Z as well for some extra intel for Liquid later on over towards White. Nesk will now be stunned out as the discs are nowhere to be found, but Bullet will find him instead as he rotates back in towards dorms. Astro's been able to grab a hold of the attic space as he'll drop down into Swamp and begin pushing forward.
Okay, drone charging off its first stun to attempt to hold back some of this play, but only even exchanges being found so far. Cameraman really shutting down the Liquid play, and he's been a huge proponent for FaZe throughout most of this series. Palu nearly getting caught in resets, only able to negotiate one, and now he's the only one left here as FaZe bullying the members of Liquid out of the site yet again. Case down now in a 1v2. This is winnable for resets here. Would be an outright 1v3 if he can work it here. As he found out one player's position, he's going to have to consider again that they'll both be stacked together, and he won't find it out quickly enough as Astro negotiates the last kill. And suddenly FaZe are back in this map. They're back in this series as they're only one round away from tying it up.
Now the big news for Liquid right now is that they can head back towards a basement, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Laundry Supply, the next site in the site rotation here, as they were able to win that pretty handedly when FaZe went for their execute. And the other thing is, John, is that FaZe have completely went away from the Ying. It's going to be Nook instead. I just wanted to double check before we got too far into that. They've banned Warden out to make sure that they can utilize Ying, but the biggest thing is they're not really putting it to its maximum potential. The good news is, though, they're going to move away from Nook and they're going to pick up Capital. They more than likely were talking about that, like, hey, they don't have access to Warden. We can really use smokes here as well as those firebolts, so we'll see how far they can possibly get with those. The big thing is, though, Nesk is on the direct counter in the likes of Wamai, so they're going to have to make sure to clear out these discs before they get too far ahead of themselves.
Will certainly be the priority, and certainly will be the impossible task for the members of FaZe. Will once again have Astro on the floor as bringing those explosive drones into the fold. Of course, have the possible capability of the Magnus being positioned on the roof, and I would say that that's probably going to be the expected position for those to be placed into, so a little bit harder to take those out, but as you were mentioning, the intel gain strong for both of these teams, so more than likely FaZe going to prioritize the elimination of those, or at least dump in their own flash supply before they attempt to throw in either of those bolts.
FaZe will be reinserting themselves inside of this round as they'll be entering the building from the lobby space. PSK will be repositioning some of these ADSs as seemingly nobody home over on the north side of the map, and he's extremely correct in this assumption. He's going to move them up into the freezer hallway to try and make this a little bit easier to play for his teammates. As of now, though, Astro and the remainder of the squad looking to clear out this mid-floor and start opening up some of these hatches. That'll be on to Cameraman, as well as, well, actually not Cyber, as he won't be applying that secondary hard breach. Instead, a Claymore here to make sure nobody can rotate into meet, and a pretty cheeky one at that. Even though there's only one laser being poked out there, that's still a Claymore that will kill you if you end up running into it. So, Rotero drone out now, and more than likely a Banshee being removed from the table, just like it was the last time, and there it goes. No matter what you do with the BP there, it's still going to go off. So, fortunately for FaZe, they can now run amok inside of this space.
And he's trying to stop it before it managed to trigger itself, but a little bit too slow on the trigger, so those drones will continue to flood in. Soft breach used for it here, and does manage to take out a magnet as well, so even a little bit of utility getting dealt with too. Some great utility usage once more. Astro here as he continues to really harass the setups from Liquid and make a mincemeat of most of their utility. Making it much easier for FaZe to bully their way in time after time after time again. What was looking to become a very one-sided series before for Liquid is suddenly a much closer competition here. Once again, FaZe sit at the brink, sit ready to challenge the members of Liquid. Do Liquid accept that though? Do they swing out themselves to potentially try to contend directly against it? This is how they've lost a lot of players in earlier rounds. They might want to sit back, wait for FaZe to make the first move here as they're stacked up to a worrying degree here. 4 players trying to insert themselves through Freezer. 1-to-1 exchange has started off, but the last one on FaZe has not been confirmed as now 2 down on the ground as well here. Going crazy with the M590s. He's up to a personal 3 on this round. Cyber is alone, and he won't even get the clutch started as he's knocked out by PSK. And Liquid finally negotiating an offensive round for themselves. It's already going to put them on map and match point.
Now, where are they going to go for this next site? That's the big question that we all have shaking around inside of our heads for the moment after they're able to secure their second basement defense downstairs. For Liquid, they're thinking that it's going to be kids' dorms. Now, this is where we saw FaZe do a very bang-up job of clearing out most of the odds and ends when it came to the dorm space.
めんどくせー。マジでめんどくせー。これこことかもじゃん。もうなんかおかしいぞ。これちょっと。まあ、ええか。くっついてないだけやもんな。これってさ、この点でさ、合わさってるやつ全部マジでできひんの。なんかメルスクリプトでありそう。
They could still stick to it and just try and get rid of those drones in the first place. We'll just have to see. PSK is going to set up one of his Goyo shields here.
メルスクリプトでありそうやけどな、これ。なんか重なったやつ回してできんかな。ことできひん。あ、できたっぽい。できたっぽくね。あ、できたっぽい。すげえ。マジってすげえ。全部解決した。素晴らしい。
Have a reputation to provide for themselves. They have an upper bracket position to defend. They now need to close out these next 2 consecutively. And once more, that is only to trigger overtime. This is just like what we had back on Clubhouse. A little bit less desperate. And a little bit more FaZe, but very similar circumstances with FaZe chasing down the earlier deficit. Negotiated back here before Liquid. That final point needed to shut down the round here. First Rotero drone dead. That's a huge piece of utility getting found out by Liquid. But the good news is there's plenty more. Astro still with 3 of those to bring in. We are going to see at least one of those successfully make its way forward to deal with some of the opening utility positioned over here by the front door.
A cheeky angle here from Souls as well, one that you can utilize at home if they end up giving it to you. Ask will actually end up going down inside of White as he doesn't really know that the bottom white window has been opened. So unfortunately for him, he's dead to rights. He's just simply going to sit here.
No one's going to come
here. Yeah, just hold his wound and then just move his arms back and forth because that's really all you can do inside of that situation. Unfortunate for him as he is the top frag right now for Liquid, but a great boon for FaZe as he begins to clear up a lot of this utility. Now Palu looking for a refrag in a certain sense to try and equalize here as we are already past our opening minute.
Souls still hoping to find another member of Liquid leaning back out here. Once again, FaZe have been able to catch, even just in Ask's case, plenty of members of Team Liquid just because they're caught roaming too late into the round.
ちょっと子供と親どう設定するんやったっけ？あ、でもこれあれ？
As we're seeing now, in some cases, 4 resets here as he nearly gets found out by a nade through the floor. We saw the red ping for just a second, and the second one is going to follow it through as it's a clean opener. 3 kills in a row from FaZe here. Liquid bow down to the assault coming in here from their opponents, and now it's going to fall to Nesk and PSK to try and clutch out a 2v5, but this is probably already going to end up being too far gone too quickly, unless we see a heroic comeback from these last two players.
Need some serious kills to come through here for Liquid as they try and chase FaZe down, but already a positive boon here for them as Nesk will take down one. PSK now as well inside of the white space, could possibly claim life, but nobody on the window for the time being. Bullet gonna wait for the swing here, and he'll find it, but PSK, what a shot from him. They've almost got the equalizer, John. It's a 2 versus 3 in the moment, but fortunately Astro will shut down one, and he'll get the second one as well. FaZe not out of this fight just yet.
FaZe taking a slow approach to that clear there inside of the 5v2, and while yes, it does bleed out a few additional members of the assaulting team, it gives them the room they need to find an opener where they can insert themselves in between, drive a wedge almost, in between the last two players alive, and ultimately take control of that round without any further losses. I believe a tactical pause is going to be working its way in here now for the members of Team Liquid as they've suddenly lost their mojo a little bit here. They've lost their aggressive capability, especially on this defensive side, to just shut out FaZe entirely. FaZe is locked in to the issues present in Liquid's own setups. They're now about to make a comeback happen with only one more round needed to trigger OT.
The aggressive front right now from Liquid on their kids' dorms defense is simply not working out for them. They're time and time again giving up the bodies over to FaZe, and then FaZe is playing patiently in order to extract Liquid's aggression from them and get those kills from that. So it's been fantastic stuff from FaZe to be able to bounce back, especially when Liquid started up 3-0 on this map, and they are one round from forcing this into overtime. But for Silence, a beautiful tack timeout here as he will have some moments to discuss with the squad and see what they can possibly do for this next defense.
No, honestly, looks like Liquid just kind of need to cool things off a little bit here.
これはね、ちょっと半透明なの。これあれだな。
So if they're able to avoid fights from FaZe up until the last
これ
minute
違
or
う。
two of the round here, and even just win out that first
おかしいな。
should be able to leverage that advantage without too much of a problem against the rest of FaZe as they try to assault the site. The bigger issue, though, is going to be fending off those Rotero drones and other forms of utility clear that's been making their insight setup so weak and possibly even forcing out some of the peaks from Liquid. They might feel they need to do that to get themselves ahead now that they don't have ADSs, deployable shields that they would normally rely on as time-wasting devices.
Absolutely, and especially like last round when Ask gets picked off like that, they're looking to try and kill someone to equalize there. And then once somebody else dies, it's like, okay, well, we need to be aggressive again to get a kill, and then it just snowballs into one big old problem. So fortunately enough for Liquid, they still have that tag timeout and still regulation, so they can still close this out at a 7-5 score line. Now, though, they will be going back upstairs just like John had said. We'll see if they can try and reapply themselves to this in a considerable fashion, unlike the last couple of times here. As we did have a 6-pick come in for Palu away from the Echo and onto the Aruni, so these laser gates could assist them in a certain sense. They've opened up some new holes to be able to use here, especially at the back of Trophy, that they could possibly utilize to lock things up. And just look at this defensive matrix inside of this space. Not only the window out here for top main, but there's a Banshee down on a reinforcement, a bulletproof for extra insight for Palu here. There's going to be Nesk inside of Attic to be able to make sure nobody pushes in from that direction, and he's going to have smokes here as well to be able to lay for the actual kid's closet and things along those lines. But the big problem is with all of that utility inside of that space, that means that FaZe might possibly find the soft spot that would be over here inside of the actual dorms.
Well, we got FaZe working their way in through small tower, going for the usual opening clear, while a few other players, most notably Astro, will start posturing up towards the big window. In Astro's case, mainly as a deployment point for those Rotero drones, able to start blowing up all the utility hidden deeper in the site. Away from that, Soul's also going to be paying close mind to the potential little tricks Liquid may be trying to pull with big tower positions, and there will be presence here. You can see it. Ask is going to take up a spot inside of T3, but they'll have to wait for the moment of opportunity to try and strike against the members of FaZe when they're trying to put pressure through rappel on the kid's window, or possibly over towards the big window if they'd be leaning out in the right direction there. It's a risk if he stays quiet for too long as well, because as we've seen time and time again, members of FaZe are going to be leaning into the site eventually, and he doesn't want to rotate in too late, but thankfully it works out this time for him. Ask secures the opening kill. They don't account for a potential T3 hold, and Souls becomes the first victim As we see the kill picked up on the opener again for Mask.
This is a massive issue. That's the thermite, and now this is all left up to Cameraman to be able to get all of this open. There's no secondary hard breach on this team. It's going to be all torch work for them to get a hold of anything that they so choose. Bullet now trying to get some control over the white space, but luckily enough, a frag grenade will come in from underneath, and it'll land on deaf ears. No one taking any heat from that, as Liquid have finally found their stride here on the Dorm's defense, but it doesn't mean that FaZe can't fight back here in a certain sense. Bullet still on white as Palu continues to hold things down in Dorms, awaiting the arrival of these FaZe members.
Pretty much all the nades wasted here for FaZe as well.
ダリーってマジでこっちも移動してるやんもう。これなんかできんかったっけ、向こう側選択できんようにするやつ。めんどくさ。めんどくさいわマジで。これいちいちプレファレンスからやらなあかんの。だるすぎ。どうなんのかな。なんかもうちょっと日本語で言ってほしいよな、この辺の機能。なんでこのソフトって説明下手くそなのな。公式のやつ読んでも何もかもわからんし。もうちょっと日本語喋ってって思う。何言ってかわからんほんま。1個調べたら10個以上、20個ぐらい用語、わけわからん用語出てくるからな。After a bit of a bumpy second half, course correct very quickly in order to take control of things inside of regulation. It's 7-3, followed up by a 7-5, and it's 2-0 to Liquid as they keep their position in the upper bracket and kick FaZe into the lower.
Truly insane series in between these two, but it's Liquid dominance here today, and not only that, but a showcasing of what Ask is worth. What an insane series from him, really taking it to FaZe. Not only on map 1, but map 2, top fragging for Liquid with 15 frags.
Excellent play. And again, this is the IGL for the team also.
なんか一気からこのなんかマウスのあれは変わったよな絶対。めちゃくちゃやりにくくなったんやな。もっと昔はな、いろいろやりやすかったんやけどな、この辺のやつ、ここのやつとかの、選択の範囲がもうちょっと違うってさ、やりやすかったはずやねんけど、すげえやりにくい今。どれくらいからかな、2020年ぐらいからかな、2021バージョンかな、わからんけど、なんか、一気に、いつもやってる感覚でできひんくなって、何やこれってなったら覚えがある。
For FaZe, of course, their run is not over just yet either. They're still going to be kept in this tournament, but now they have to go down into the lower bracket, where they sent Oxygen to start the day off at as well here. So, possibility for those two teams to meet, and for Oxygen now to claim revenge is certainly alive and well. And FaZe's other matchups outside of the ones they've played versus Liquid have looked fairly promising. So I'd keep good hopes alive for FaZe to maybe make a bit of a comeback run themselves and possibly go fairly far inside of that lower bracket. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the competition is going to look like before we can make a good determination about that. But either way, I'd say there's good days ahead for FaZe still in this tournament. We still have 5 more days of play still to go here at SI 2022.
Yes, indeed, my friend. And well, that's going to do it for you and me today. And that's going to do it for the stream right now, guys. We're going to send you to a little break, and we'll be back with Command Center.
全体的にはどうでしょうか。悪くないと思うんですけど。どうせ見えへんやろ、ほら。見えへん。これはちゃんとあれした。下だ。こっちもあるんすよ。踊れた部分。なんかここもあるしな。この辺まで続くやつ。どこまで行くのかな、この辺までかな。わからんけど。これめんどくさい。あ、これここのポコ作ってない。一応作るか。これちょっとの工夫がな。結構な、物を言うじゃないけどな。これどっちにしても無理か。だったらまっすぐなる。 なんかどうにかならんな、俺。まあ、バウンディングボックスって言うんだっけ、なんて言うんだっけ、これって、こうやって回せるよな。大体でいいや。おい、こら。大体でいい。あ、どうせ、あれやからな。ふにゃってなるもんやからな、四角ポリゴンは。いいんじゃないでしょうか、別に多分。こっち側は、ストレートしてるから、こっちにして。これも、同じような感じ。ちょっと丸いから、ここ丸くなるから、あ、ここ。これは、さすがにダサいから、これ。どうしようか。これを、ちょっとだけ上げて、これは別にワールドでいい。上に上げて、向こうに折りたたまれちゃったのかな。何これ。別にこの記念ちゃんでいいんやけど。まあ位置合わせしようと思ったらこれ、ちゃんと、もうこれ使ったらいいんやけどな。違う。これもなんか、ポコってできたのにな、なんか。触れるところがさ、こう雑なせいでさ、すごい操作がしにくい。こんなことなかったのにな。ピッてやるときに他のところに当たったりとかする。マジでこんなことなかったのに。まあやってたときは。てかこれ、ここポンってやって、これくっつけてさ、ドンってさ、これの X と、レッドアースでさ、これでよくね。別に向こうは見えへんしな。裏は見えるか。一応やったけど、どうせここ全部同じゴムの出てきてるから、同じテクスチャになる。テクスチャ、マテリアルになると思うから、別にそんな。って言ってるけど俺、そんな、やったことないんやな。 テクスチャリング。サブスタンスのソフトは持ってるけど、勉強したことがない。もう何分ぐらいこれやってる？ 1 時間半ぐらい。いつも2時間目処にやってるんやけど。もうここしかやってないからな、今日。めんどくさい。非常にめんどくさいことになってる。もうちょっとこれは簡単っていうか、わかりやすくやりたいけど。どうやってたっけ？ピュッと上げまして。ピュッてやって、ピュッてやって、ピュッてやって。
Hey, welcome back to the 6th Invitational 2022. We just wrapped up another exciting match. It was Team Liquid versus FaZe. You've seen it before at this event, and if you saw it last time, the results are the same. Liquid is standing here as our champions. I'm going to be talking to Silence now about these matches. And Silence, first I have to ask you, you beat FaZe in groups. You beat them handily here today. What did you learn about them that let you do that?
Well, first of all, hello guys, how are you doing? I think playing FaZe is not a new thing for us because we play at MBR6 all the time, so we know really good with each other over there. And playing here in the 6th Invitational, as I said before, we own like, I think 6 maps in a row and they own just 1 map against us. I don't know, maybe just study a lot then, so that's it.
Yeah, what we're looking at in this tournament doesn't quite reveal how neck and neck you two have been as teams. We were taking a look at your lifetime match comparisons. You've now won 13 matches against them. You tied once with them, and they have won 13 matches against you. But as you said, you've picked up a lot of these wins recently.
話あれを見てないから、タイムテーブルを見てないから、惰性で見てるところある。
And I need to learn why our feeling here, our energy here is a little bit different from there. So that's a lesson to learn, maybe.
Talk to me a little bit about what your team's energy here is like.
Yeah, it's pretty important because as a coach behind the players, I'm the only person behind them, so I need to be the cheerleader as well. I need to pass my energy to them, so it's a really important role to do.
Well, as a coach, you are uniquely positioned to know what all your players are doing, know their contributions to each map. So I was wondering, can you talk to me about the individual contributions of your players at the tournaments this week?
Yes. I think next was three times the MVP, right? Who's the MVP for this match? You have this?
Oh, do we have MVP for this match yet?
Who's the MVP for us? Nesk again? Oh, Ask. Oh,
there
perfect.
You go. Ask.
My children. So, Ask is insane. He's like 19 years old.
Wow.
So he's pretty young, and it's the first.
フェーズのファンがなんかギャーギャー言ってんな。外で。
So yesterday, no, 2 days ago we had Resets as MVP. So he's pretty young too. So he's 18 years old. Maybe the new generations come strong, you know, we need to pay attention to them.
Yeah, we're going to have to get out of their way, and it's great to see that MVP has been distributed around your roster. Yeah. Each one of them is going to take a moment to step to the forefront and shine. And honestly, the same can be said at this tournament and across Rainbow Six for the LATAM scene. Brazil is a dominant force in Rainbow Six. Can you talk to me a little bit about why that might be?
Sure. I think in the Brazilian blood we have the FPS DNA, you know. It's not just in Rainbow Six Siege, but like in CS,
これはもうめんどくさいから、
players, insane players. I think all the FPS games, the Brazilian teams are good as well. But in Rainbow Six last year was the Brazilian year. We like on the invitation, we on the two majors from there. So
最後にちょっと曲げたらいいよ。これあれやからね。この斜めにもしてるからね。こう直角がこう地球の地軸みたいに傾いてるのもあるし、こう見ても傾いてるのもあるしだから結構めんどくさい傾き方してるけど、これは結構丸やからそのままソンってやって、あとこれをちょっとピュッてやったらやからこんな感じでやったらいいから。
players are insane.
これでここの部分丸ポンポンって作って、で、まああとちょこちょこっと。
Time torcendo, a gente vai dar nossa vida aqui porque a gente sabe quão importante é isso para nós. E eu sou Liquid, tamo junto.
Fantastic. Silence, thanks for coming to talk to us. Congratulations and good luck to your team going forward. And now we're going to hand it back over to the analyst desk to take a closer look at that match. Thanks so much, Seltzer. Silence, Liquid's coach, doing that interview there, saying thank you to the fans. And fun fact that these teams are actually 13-13 in overall matches. That's super cool. All tied up now, baby. You owe them some more money. $10 now. Am I correct?
I'll get it back.
What do you? Okay.
There is still a possibility that those two play each other again.
Slim possibility.
Still a chance.
Oh, okay. Well,
Double or nothing. If it happens,
I'm gonna keep you to it. And right now, you have an invoice for $10, okay? And it has his name on it. Got it?
good heavens.
All right, let's talk about this matchup, though. So, Liquid doing really well, 2 maps. Liquid just seems like the better team out of these 2 teams now, dominating the November major winners in groups and playoffs now.
Decisive, isn't it? You can say, okay, sure, they get that one best of 3. Is that really the full story? I think now, yes, it is. Liquid, without a doubt, now the better team at the Invitational between the 2 LATAM giants, and yet all credit to Liquid. They just keep going. They just keep going.
And I want to see if we can bring up the map 1 summary graphic. We got to talk about Clubhouse. I mean, honestly, we got to talk about Nesk. I mean, we were chatting earlier, Demo, and it was like, he would do things, and I would be like, I don't know if that's going to work, and then somehow it did work, Ollie. I don't know what is his deal, but on map 1, he was on fire.
Nesk's just one of those players. He really is, and I think that he was really important in map number 1. We've got a bit of a summary up here, and it's going to show a good little story, because it wasn't just the Nesk show throughout the series. Whilst he did put in a really big performance here on map number 1, he wasn't on his own. There was a lot of good clutches that came through as well. I think about resets over in round number 4. The biggest thing that helped Liquid inside a Clubhouse was their entry kill. They got the entry in every single round, even the 2 rounds that they lost.
And Ollie, you kind of want to do a deep dive on Nesk, right?
We can do a deep dive on Nesk for
let's
sure.
Do it.
Let's take it over to the telestrator. We've got a clip here, and it's gonna demonstrate something that I think Liquid do exceptionally well, and that is creating space. It isn't always about where you are. It isn't always about not being able to get into position. It's about creating that space, and they do that really well. So currently, just about hitting the halfway point of the round, thereabouts, droning now into Garage. They know that they've got to take through Garage because they know that that is the push that they want to go. They've already opened up the east side wall. The 2 players that we're really going to want to keep an eye out for are going to be Nesk and it's going to be Parley, because they're the players that are going to be really influential after this initial push comes through. So we can see there's an engagement brewing here. Soul's got an ADS, maybe anticipating the nade come through. He's getting challenged from a couple of angles. There's not a great deal he can do. Resets gets a cracking shot onto him. That's brilliant, but that now is Garage control done. We want to take a moment just to pause, and we're going to highlight Nesk. He is currently behind the gun, but we can see that's where his outline is. That's where he is going to be rotating to, and he's going to try and make a little bit of a play here. Gets himself onto the east rappel. And that's really important because the site is already being cut in half. We can see him on the east rappel over. Ooh, okay.
Oh no.
Oh no!
We've had a bit of a
we got the sad smiley face. Head on over here. Okay, it's okay. That happened.
Telestrator doesn't always work with everyone, Ollie.
Maybe I'm just not like the magic touch. Maybe that's the problem.
That is...
I'm not okay. I'm laughing because it was just like the little unhappy.
We get some
face
F's in chat,
up.
please. F's in chat for Ollie's Illustrator.
FaZe unhappy, and that's why the little emoji popped up. Okay, but Demo, I do want to talk about the map 2 summary. Let's see if we can grab that and put that up on screen. FaZe was starting to make a comeback there, and then the final rounds, rookie mistake.
Yeah. Liquid again looked very, very dominant, able to take a strong match point, and then things started to kind of get away from them just a little bit. And one thing I do want to highlight also, just if you look at the scoreboard, is Nesk, who we just literally said is, you know, just a myth amongst men, isn't he?
Yeah.
In terms of what he can do. Not so much in this matchup. 5 kills, but look at Ask. Look at him. 15 kills and 6, and he's the support player.
That is wild.
I mean, why do you think that happened, Ollie? Do you just feel like there were people on the team who were like, we got to step up now. It's now or never, basically, right?
Ask found himself in a couple of difficult positions. There were a couple of clutches thrown in there as well. It was a fairly scrappy scrappy game by all accounts, because obviously it did end up going with FaZe repeatedly picking up that match point. You know, kind of flipped and flopped back and forward a little bit, and it wasn't as clear cut maybe as Liquid would have liked, especially after the way that they took the first half. They were able to get a 4-2 split on the attack, so by all accounts it should have been fairly straightforward from there. But I think Ask just did a really good job of finding that space, and it was something that we were going to demonstrate. But that's the thing about Liquid, it's the positioning, it's their information, it's that exchange of info that really assists the team, and it just goes to show it doesn't always need to be Nest that's popping off. They've got a lot of depth in this squad now.
That's interesting that you say this. We do have the MVP graphic. I have no idea who it's going to be. We believe it's Ask.
Yeah, I think
so let's do the big reveal, and it is Ask. And Ollie was kind of high on Ask here, saying a lot of great things. Dima, why do you think this is such a talented player?
I think just the levels he's been able to elevate himself to. I think obviously we've seen him come in his first debut season, all he didn't weigh inside of BR6, and overall he did okay. He's sitting at a 1.03 rating inside of that season, 73 kills, 74 deaths. Overall, it was okay. You know, it wasn't anything special. He was supposed to be, you know, the kind of rival of obviously replacing a big name like Sexy Cake. And I think at this Invitational, he's really proven himself, and you can see now an MVP for him.
All right, and Ollie, I do want to talk about FaZe a little bit. Super Astro, super quiet. Am I wrong? FaZe's whole formidable lineup, I just feel like they couldn't find a groove.
I think that Astro struggled. I think that Cyber struggled again. You know, we were sort of throwing it around and sort of tossing the ball in the air and saying which one of you is going to catch it. Is it going to be Astro? Is it going to be Cyber? Is it even going to be Bullet? There needs to be at least 2 out of those 3 that are popping off consistently, and we just didn't have that. Astro was quiet, and if Astro was quiet at this event in particular, Cyber's already been very quiet. You can't expect him to just magically appear out of nowhere. FaZe struggled for that depth.
All right, and Demo, what happens to these two teams now? Liquid's probably going to continue to climb through the upper bracket, am I wrong?
Yeah, it looks really good now for Liquid. I'm sure favorites for a lot of you guys at home. You're kind of expecting Liquid to make a grand final. You know, oh, how original, Liquid in a grand final of an Invitational. Wow, we've never seen that before. But now Liquid, I think now they go on to play the winner of the game that's still happening, I believe, Furia versus TSM. And for FaZe, they're still have another chance. So they drop that into the lower bracket and they have to start preparing for their next games.
All right, you owe him $10, and we're going to make sure that Telestrator gets fixed for you. I'm sorry you got the unhappy face. He's like, thank you, Jackie. But thank you so much for your excellent analysis as always. But all of you at home, do not go anywhere. We have some amazing pre-match analysis for you right after this break. Don't go anywhere. I said don't go. Don't.
I have to win this round for the grand finals now. And there are so many ways to approach it.
Teammates always get into kind of bad situations that are tough to clutch, but you sit there, you watch, and you hope they can pull through.
Defuse are in a position where they'll have to see when the Hibana goes through. One will cover the doorway as they start to defuse. Hengu goes for one on the Young. Can he go the second?
A lot of people wonder why we call the Six Invitational 2018 Grand Finals the greatest match of Rainbow Six ever played. I mean, I think the greatest indicator of an excellent match is how many different ways you can denote its importance. The morning of the Grand Finals, you've got Penta and EG, 2 of the best teams in the world, ready to square off. EG, known as Continuum at the time, were the defending world champions. They want to defend the hammer. Penta has won everything but the Six Invitational, so this is their chance to cement their legacy and be the best team in the world.
Our 2 teams both thought that we were the best 2 teams.
Even if we exclude all of that story, we are still treated to an exhilarating best of 5 that subverts expectations every step of the way. EG winning the first 2 maps, the second in particular, very close. Nobody saw that coming.
ちょっと浮いてるんやけど、まあそれはしゃあない。あとここやね。ここはなんかこの辺に向かってるように見えるんやけど。
Penta wins the next 2 and storms back to push a 5th map. Nobody saw that coming.
Once it got back to 2-2 after Cafe, I guess, nerves kicking in a little bit, right? Because in the back of your mind, you're like, oh shit, is this happening?
Map 5. Penta almost wins outright. But then EG claws back and pushes us to overtime. Nobody saw that coming.
And honestly, I was kind of mentally exhausted, and I didn't have any like super logical answers to like try to close rounds. And just trying to kind of create some chaos.
なんか
You don't have to really worry about a window. Canadian, a spot peek, really? The glass goes down. He returns fire across line in overtime. Why not?
And then in the final hour of the last round, it's Pengu of all people who clutches it.
They're often known as the best team in the world. Penta are your world
ユニーク
When he announced me as a world champion and a winner, I teared up. It was achieving my lifelong goal, and I felt for the first time the massive amount of success.
The storyline and the match itself is still one of the best we've ever seen. But when you add context, that's what really pushes it over the edge. And it honestly is, in every sense of the word, the best match of Rainbow Six Siege that has ever been played.
Number 1 in their group, Empire got to sleep in, but they are eager to play and ready to go, and they are taking on SSG. I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Fresh and Jess. I know that we are amped up for this matchup. Let's start off with Empire, and Fresh, I'll put you in the hot seat first. They had a very solid group stage.
Yeah.
They took a hard loss in 2 maps to M&M, which frankly, I think had all of us kind of scratching our heads a little bit. But I would say Empire struggles with consistency. Would you agree with that?
We would say that they struggle with consistency online. It's definitely been a thing that's, you know, that it's been a well-proven thing. When they play online, because if they play on the ping from kind of Russia, they struggle with time and consistency in individual performances. However, that changes as soon as you get them on LAN. They know what's good, they can feed off each other, there's no ping that they've got to think about, and they sometimes look like they are absolutely unstoppable.
We tend not to refer to Empire from the domestic league as the same Empire we talk about when they come onto LAN.
They're 2 different teams, right?
They really are. Like, honestly, it feels like they field 2 completely different teams every time we have an event and it's offline or an online event, and then you just kind of quantify them a little bit differently. And I think that's why we always give them the respect. If they don't perform well online, we never really go to the nth degree of saying that this team is not one of the best teams in Europe, because you put them on LAN and all of a sudden this team just turns into a brand new team.
They're such a hard team to actually analyze, because they play,
are the worst.
they play the same strategy, and then one time it will look incredible, another time it will look like it is the worst strategy ever, and the same things happen, and it's so hard to differentiate that because they don't do anything different. It's just the synergy, and they have more confidence, because when we talk about their ping a lot, when you're on the ping, they second guess themselves. They're slower, and because of that, the rounds are slower, particularly on their attack, and that's what a lot of their rounds do come down to, is time.
We're not really making it up. Just to give the audience a really big indication, if you miss out on EUL, every time we get Joystick, Daniel into an interview, he says to us, we have a different strategy when we are online. When we have ping, we play completely different. We have different strategies. We play differently on purpose because of that. So we're not making it up. It's not some kind of conspiracy theory. That is just the actuality of that team.
Okay, so I get the message. This is a tale of 2 teams. We really don't know who's going to show up today. So, Jess, I found this kind of strange, but Empire lost to their region and then defeated all the other regions.
Yeah.
So what do we expect today against a strong NA team? One that you've repeatedly called resilient, that does well against adversity.
I think after the matches we've had today, I now have to double down on the fact that North America is one of those regions you cannot count out until the very last second of a round. And that's what we have to do. Empire has to do the same. They must come in with a lot of respect for their opponents here, and they must be very fully aware of the fact that Space Station Gaming on your screens right now is a team that takes a little bit to warm up with. And need I remind both of you on the desk, they've warmed up today already on those 3 sort of maps we had earlier.
We saw those, Rampy called it a slow start earlier. They've already played a full best of 3. They've already played something like it. I think it's into the 40s rounds that they've played today.
Yes.
Don't know if they're going to done another scrim between. They looked a little bit sluggish earlier, but if the map 3 Space Station from that previous game earlier turns up, then Empire are in for a real treat.
And talking about Rampy, we gotta talk about Rampy versus
Yes,
Bobby.
please.
He got an ace today, and then Ace told me that he got an ace in the first round of SI hindsight 2020.
He did, yes.
And then he was just screaming at Rogue 2 days ago. I mean, he is coming for EU, I feel like.
I went and just had a look in the player area. It was the round that he got the ace.
Yeah.
And he went up through the volumes to the point where all you could hear across both teams were just Rampy screaming. And he was like, Melusi's dead, Echo's dead. And he was just screaming at his team, and his team were just like, whoa.
多分な、ナーブスのカーブとか使えばうまいことできるんやろうけどな、ここの部分。
Part of taking them through that last
どうすんねんな、俺やり方知らん。
Okay, the only positive rated after going through an entire best of 3, every single map, and he was the only positive rated player on the team. Aces definitely helped pad the stats.
カーブワープでできんのかな、どうなのね。まあ普通にやるよりは絶対いいよな、そっちの方が。
Resilience, composure. If you want to add all of these adjectives to a person, it is currently Rampy. He's the top dog, and I know we have multiple players on the team that have always stepped up when needed. He's the guy for the team now.
Yeah, Fresh, SSG, they didn't have a bad groups. Their only losses against Liquid, they narrowly edged out FaZe. I mean, we've been saying this throughout this broadcast. They undoubtedly did better than expected.
They are previous 6 invitational champions for a reason. They're a world
これ
champion
あれだ
team.
ね、ここでやるの正確じゃないからよくない。
They won it in
左面か
lost in 21, they won it again in 22.
左面
And
ビ
you
ューで
speak
ちょ
to
っ
a
と
lot of the NA pros, and they will say about SSG is that they never know when they're beat. They approach every single round the same way. Whether they're 6-0 up or 6-0 down, they just go exactly the same way, same mindset, and that's a really difficult thing to achieve in esports.
And we are moving into the map ban phase now. We're getting that information up on your screen. Jess, I'm going to put you in the hot seat this one. What are you thinking?
I'm actually really, not surprised, but I'm really happy for SSG that they've not gone the route of banning their worst map. They've actually banned the best map of their opponents.
Yes.
It's something we've already discussed in length on previous tests. Do you ban the best map of your opponents?
What's the strategy?
Do you ban your worst map? I actually think with the map pool of SSG, that's a smart way to go, because if you let Empire get momentum on one of those maps that happens to be the best, that can be really dangerous.
So here's the curious thing about this map ban and the picks that we're seeing in particular. SSG and Clubhouse are just synonymous with each other, right? The SSG roam. You do not expect SSG to ever lose Clubhouse. However, Clubhouse and Cafe, we talk about Empire inside of Best of Ones having 3 big maps that they love. Clubhouse, Cafe, Coastline.
Yep.
So for Empire, they're equally as comfortable. The old additive was never take a Russian team to Clubhouse. That's exactly what SSG have done. They need to be on top of their game because Empire know Clubhouse equally as well as SSG do.
It's a rough one because you want to pick your best map. Unfortunately, that aligns with your opponent's one of their best maps as well, but you also don't want to throw it out because you want to trust in yourselves to be able to do it.
The overall map pool for SSG, I would say, is better than Empire because they've got it down. SSG got it down to Villa or Oregon as a decider, and both of them, or neither of them, are good maps traditionally for Empire.
Okay, really quickly, I'm going to be honest. I don't know who y'all are rooting for. You were kind of split when I was listening to your analysis. So, Fresh, who are you picking?
It will be Empire in 2 or SSG. If SSG get one of the first 2 maps, they'll win Oregon, in my opinion.
Wow.
Empire would have to do it in 2.
You said that about Na'Vi.
Who nearly did do it in 2.
You're right. I'm going to say, I'm going to stand behind my man Lycan, who I think is one of the best coaches in the world. If they could beat that last series, they could probably do this one too.
Ooh, our analysts divided. Well, thank you so much. You're both fantastic. Really appreciate your analysis. But will SSG start strong or start slow? And which Empire team is showing up today? We shall see. Happen Fluke, take it away. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And yes, we find ourselves back with a little bit of a classic matchup here between SSG and Empire, far from the first time these 2 teams have met.
Yeah, they have met one another many different times, and if we just quickly take a trip down that memory lane, the Clubhouse been played multiple times.
Yeah.
So have the other maps. So it is definitely going to be an interesting one. Of course, metas change, teams change slightly, as in, well, I don't think we have seen too many roster changes on either of these. Of course, the latest was the addition of Houghton on the side of Space Station. I'm not quite sure. Did they play against that? Yes, Sweden. Last time, yeah.
Yeah, classic Sweden, but Sweden were those best of ones.
That is true.
Sweden had a little bit of different energy about it. They were sort of met in those best of one scenarios, and although they are, you know, there's not many teams that have as much experience on the big best of 3, best of 5s in finals as these 2 teams. This is such an experienced server right now.
Last 2 times they played, however, it went into the way of Space Station Gaming, which were both played on the map Villa, and both of those were taken away by the side of Space Station. So we're not heading there. None of the 3 maps will be part of that. If looking back at best of 3s, it was Cafe 7-4 Empire and Clubhouse 8-7 Empire. That was back at the Mexico Major.
That's it. Mexico, and it wasn't too far away, but you're sort of looking at these 2 teams having that, you know, back and forth split, a back and forth divide, and Mexico was obviously where Empire were performing better than some of their other performances on the grander stage. They have generally been consistent, but, you know, that was where they went the distance. That was when they were able to really sort of put down a mark as the only non-Latin American team to fly a flag.
This year.
Yeah.
That's the important part as well. Yeah, they were the only finalist in a major or 6 invitational in the last 12 months who were not from Latam. And with that, there is instantly that bit of pressure upon them because they haven't made any big roster changes and nothing since then. And you kind of wanted to see them go all that way again, especially with Navi that is currently you know, knocked down Eminem, who is in the losers bracket, and BDS, who is already eliminated. It is good to see whether or not Empire will be able to live up to these old heights again. For those of you who did not realize, we are in a quick pause, it was called. It's not a tactical timeout.
It's a technical.
It's probably a technical. And we'll just get that quickly resorted before we actually do get into this matchup.
All right, well, let's talk shop. Let's talk about how we think this is going to go, because there's some fun statistics about these 2 teams throughout all that they've done so far. Obviously, Empire, they haven't played yet today. If you missed SSG's game earlier today, it was versus Navi, and they almost lost it. They lost the opening map, they lost Chalet. Then in the middle, in that bank that was SSG's pick, they had a massive comeback. They were on about 6-3, I believe it was, and then won every single defense since that point. Got themselves to win on that map, and then went over to the 3rd map and flawless defense to come back from 1-5 down. They've had a tough warm-up. They've had a rocky start.
And as always, fatigue might start to play a role at some point. Of course, over the entire event, every single team has only played 1 best of 3 a day. And now suddenly, it is SSG that will have to play a 2nd one. Now, there could be either 2 ways about this. Either they are warmed up well, or might have been worn out a little bit, whereas Empire have the opportunity to fully focus upon this match here, which might be their advantage.
And I think that's also worth sort of bringing as a point of comparison is, although they have a good club, it was obviously a flawless defense was their club earlier today. They didn't drop a single defensive round, and they're coming straight back into that. And that might be something that actually helps them, potentially. Obviously, you never really know about the conversation until the team is, and you've got to prepare for teams differently. But the fact that they've already sort of had a pretty hefty run at this today and come out the other side pretty pinch perfect, they still have that energy, they still have that blood, and they'll theoretically be able to drive it. But Empire as well, they've been able to get themselves into pretty solid positions across all of this.
Yeah, for sure, they have been able to set themselves up well, and as it's hot and on that row, it is something we saw Navi struggle with before. The Vigil basically drawing away the attention and making sure that Navi slowed down. There's one thing though that we know about Empire, and they are pretty systematic. Yes, they might find out. Yes, they might be slowed down as a result, but they'll always continue their step-by-step plan. It is their identity, and it is what they do well. And what Phils did well is to open it up with a nice nitro there. So that's the entry going towards the side of Space Station. That is then gone as well, and a bunch of utility out of the hands.
All the way on the top floor as well. So far from anything else that's going to come through, Joystick is going to be able to get a bit of a sniff here of Bosco, who's just going to leave that first ping at the top, but fall his way down. Didn't want to opt for the swing with the shotgun. Instead, has just gotten out of there. The read is, well, he's long gone. And, well, as always, to pick up Rampy on the split, they are removed from it. The Malusi, that sort of acting connector, and Bosco's now in a bit of a tricky situation. He has Falls as the closest, but he's still a stretch away, and there's obviously Houghton on the other far side as well and Strip, but it's a bit of an isolated push, and he knows he's got to go past somewhere where somebody's already died. He's going to take the dip dive, see if he can slip his way through, and does actually find an escape route, but look at that. Houghton, they're hot on his trail. The fight is on the door, and he says, no, you're not on the list. Your name's not there. You're not coming in. He actually pulls himself back in. Now, as I said, he's isolated here. That's the risky thing about playing in this position. There is one way out, and that is, for now, currently being watched. And even if he impacts the billiards and tries to go for a little bit more width, it's still a generally forward-directed position.
Yeah, so technically it's a 3-on-3 on the side now if Empire do decide to push it. Of course they don't as of yet. The drone just continues to give away the information whether or not he will start pushing or not. And as a barricade gets opened up, he creates himself another opening. One that is being watched, however, and as always, spots the shoulder. He picks up the kill as well. Didn't pull the trigger until he was certain he was able to pick up the kill as well. And now they do no longer have to worry about a potential roamer to still be out there. The one thing they do have to worry about, though, is time. And this grenade might pick up Skies, actually forces him back. Not cooked properly enough, but the drop comes through. The diffuser gets dropped, and they now need to swing in multiple different directions. Always gets the first, but he doesn't quite know about the shotgun around the corner. It's only up to Scyther now in a 1-on-2. He sees the first, but cannot quite connect. And Skies is going to be able to pick up that kill and make sure that Empire is not taking that first round away from them.
Empire, they found themselves a little bit caught up in the roam play, obviously losing down on the entrance made things a little bit more complex when they tried to go for the drop, and they tried to go for that attempted push round. They didn't have that extra swing that could have come through with them. The Jackal was well put together. It was able to isolate two players, and although they didn't intently get the kill,
でもまあ絶対にあれやな、あれした方が良かったな。カーブワープでやった方が良かったね。こういうのはデフォーマーだな。俺使ったことないから分からんよな。どう回したらもっと綺麗に見える。
Got them dropped out of this position, so we can get that clarity on it. We know that there's the player off the strip, and they lost the engagement on strip door, but they had him, as we said, sort of locked and boxed in that area.
Yeah, they had, and that is the important part. They knew where he was. They didn't really have to worry about him. You know, you just hold the angles. He will come out at some point. The big issue was, though, that because it took quite long and because the initiative was within SSG to decide when that roamer would pop up again, a lot of time has passed by, and a lot of time was wasted. And that leaves us with SSG, a single roundup over Empire here, who want to do better, of course, than that one round. They lost an early entry. Things could have been massively different with Dan still on the board, so that is something they'll have to watch out for. And of course, if you look at the scoreboard, it's only Always who managed to pick up kills and bring it back to a 2v1 or 2v2 at the end there.
Well, Always has always been that consistency for Empire over the past year. Empire as a team, if you've not intently watched them in EUL and just sort of seen them on majors, is their struggle is with that face that they've had. As they put it out on the desk, they got a bit too cautious, they got themselves double-checking things and found they lost that sharp edge that was famously led by Dan and Joystick. They are a great offline team. As they've proven in this tournament and many others throughout the year as well, they have that ability to sort of get over that, obviously hindered by the fact that two players are still playing from quarantine, I believe.
Yeah, doesn't help them, of course, so that is something that is definitely a hindrance. This has been in the group stage. Openings will be made. I thought for a second it was Hot and Cold jumping out the window, and he actually rotated into the strip club. But Bosco now under pressure. Nitro comes out and will explode, deals a lot of damage towards Always, but the kill is not being secured as of yet. Gemini Replicator will be checking out the
めっちゃ形。ぽくない？もうパッて、はいって見たときに、あ、ぽいってなるやろ。あとここのレバー。こっち側にあるから、これはそんな難しくない。
They did that earlier against Navi as well. They just throw it out of the strip club door on the far side, and they know it's a consistent thing on the screen, and it draws that irritants, but also allows this. We didn't see Hot and Cold do too many runouts, but it adds that sort of cover from it. There it is. It's removed by Empire, actually. They don't play around with it. They get rid of it, so they know they have a clearer idea of when a runout might come. Dan is able to find Bosco on this window, but there is Hot and Cold with that run out, and Rampy in the meantime suffers on a longer engagement. Scythe has been able to find his way inside, and Joystick finds Rampy, finishes off that kill, and now it's just a slow creep down these main brick stairs. There is obviously still trick around the corner. There is still the chance for player here, and as the clarity comes over lounge, they've at least been able to clear a lot of space, which Na'Vi were not able to do before. Can they keep it? Because SSG played a lot of great retakes.
Now, there we have it. Joystick picks up an important kill. The bar has now been cleared out. We have a member of SSG in the strip club and one inside the kitchen. Scyther holds off an important rotate though and will shortly be able to potentially pick up Hot Hand if he does move out of the bathroom soon. Skies just holds an angle. He knows that this is where they need to come from. This is where the push should be coming in from, and as one kill is being landed back, it is Scyther that is unable to actually punish them for now. Alton playing on those billiards here has an opportunity to try and deny this plan from happening. It's actually Skies that does that and drops that diffuser always. Is the only one left currently now, as Houghton will be able to pick up Scyther, who was playing up on those main stairs. 7 seconds left on the clock. There's not much time for him to work with and will potentially fall here as well. Gets the first, however, but the time runs out, and again, Empire start for time as they couldn't get past those last two players.
And it's now 11 defensive rounds won in a row, including the ones from the earlier showdown for SSG, and over half of that was just on club defenses alone. They've kept up that trend. They've kept themselves going, but I will say that round there, that was some of the best pressure that they've had put against them. They had to sort of rebuild. They couldn't go for the flashy retakes they did before. A couple of good movements there from Houghton and from Skies to be able to get a couple of bites out of the approach there of Empire. Dropping the diffuser is always so integral, and it leaves always in a very tricky situation. But it's club defense. It's a defense that we know these two teams know very well. So here on the third one, here on the tertiary, is where we're most likely to start to see potentially a drop defense.
That's it, right? I mean, they did get quite close last time around. It's just that those last two players were an issue. Houghton, with his runouts, was able to wreak some havoc down onto the Empire players. And Skies, of course, playing in that kitchen really uncontested upon that moment where he was going to be able to pick up those kills. That is something that Empire will learn from in the upcoming rounds. So as soon as the next rotation will be started, they probably will not fall to a player inside that kitchen doorway, looking all the way through.
まあこれはあってもいいけどな。 裏な。
All 5 members currently around this position, as some of them will start to fall back. It shows that utility is
見たこれ汚いな。普通こうした方がかっこいいんやけどさ、これ消してさ、ポンポンってした方が綺麗やねんけど。まあいいか。
It's not the side, so they won't defend it with their lives. If they can fall back and make an impact, they will. That is something to keep in mind with this strategy. An Empire looking to instantly put up pressure from the garage side of things, which provides an extra angle and potentially cuts off a rotate as well if Rampy or Bosco want to go back.
Dan, he's been able to get one out of the 2 rounds before, but he's going to see if he can have a little bit more success than the last time he tried to get in on this door, where he was blown very quickly back outside. They have a presence at the top of red, and they're sort of weighing up where they want to make their approach from that opening, as the connection there onto the stock room means it's not the cleanest route through, especially with the loose players that they've already sort of flaunted with and shown off always. He might see if he can throw a quick grenade over the top. We just had a Gun 6 pop off something, and actually just gets himself to the split side as that long stretch and angle gets opened up instead, including a rotate just behind the server and CC stack, so they can try and get themselves a little bit closer. There's a hole perfectly opened over the top. The arena gate means they can't go so directly, but here, the creep through always. He's on a little bit of a mission. How close can he get? How will this grenade cook itself? Rampy, he might have an idea. It's over the top and it gets caught out by the ADS. There's one. And that's actually different because last time when we saw this, there wasn't an ADS there. And Na'Vi were able to net 2 quick kills from it. This time they've learned, they've changed and adapted. Just that little read, and well, as the player gets himself in a dangerous situation, always finally finds the kill, but only about 1 minute 20 left.
Yeah, there's not much time left, and they still need to push all the way over to the construction side. Fultz still out there looking with that DMR. We've seen it become a completely different beast. And Agiri, for example, was able to sidestep and pick up multiple double kills, and after that, multiple different people started to use it. It is actually a very incredible gun. That was the common consensus about it. 55 seconds on the clock. Empire have some presence on the highway. Shepard is out on the jacuzzi balcony, opening up as well, but will swiftly go up back to the top. So it's just to put up some pressure to the side of SSG. Let them think that there will be someone around that balcony, which will not be the case. The most of them will be pushing in for logistics. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a couple of them on the roof as well, ready to drop that hatch.
Now more of a spray comes through here. Dan is going to see if he can find a body, but you're looking at 30 seconds and always suffering here. Once again, SSG is starting to pull themselves back. They're not overextending and taking the fights when they can. Faults on a trade with always with Rampy and Shepard. Finding a trade and Shepard on a toe. Suddenly, Empire's been able to find an absolute rip tear of bodies. Rampy in the middle, but 10 seconds. Scyther needs to try and find a way to stick that diffuser, or they've got a double push. The flashes go out. They're going for the dig into bathroom, and Shepard knew it. Found the swing, found the offsite, and finally, after 11 successful defenses in a row between the opening two here and the previous series, SSG have lost one.
Yeah, and this time around, Empire was able to translate their opening kill into the round, even though there wasn't that much time left. Rampy managed to escape the wrath of Dan, walking through from the construction site, unable to pick up the kill with the LMG. But after that, it was a double push to come through. They didn't want to go for a plant there. They didn't want to risk 2 1v1s with the time running out. It's probably better as well to just go for that kill. You knew exactly where it was. There was no other way it could be except for in that shower cabin. And Church will be played yet once again. It is unlocked and will be used by the side of SSG. Slight change coming up, seeing the Goomines coming back on the side of Rampy. Of course, since we saw that being changed, where you couldn't see the icons anymore over the entire map, but instead you needed to be in a line of sight and within 11 meters of them, I believe, to see whether or not they impacted or not.
I remember when Legion was old Legion.
Yeah, yes.
When he was broken in the right hand, I think. He was in that strange position where if someone knew how to play him... Okay, the easiest way of framing this is there wasn't a single site where it wasn't a good decision to bring him.
Yeah, because
he was never bad.
Information. It's 11 goo mines or something you put down, and you can find out exactly where they are at what given time. It's like 10 damage you did on instant. It was tick damage, so they were forced to pull it out, which took time. You could see exactly where they were at what given time at that moment. So it's like, as you said, it's always a good operator. It just brings so much.
Okay, SSG, you've got yourself a win on this before, and they've generally gone with a pretty similar lineup, and I'm curious to see how much time they try and throw again up top. They were happy to sort of play up here and put themselves back at the right time with, as we said, Hot and going for the extension out onto the strip club side. Empire, they're paying it a bit of attention, but also a bit of caution, remembering that they lost a player to a very early false C4, and they don't want to make the same mistake. They have pulled off the Jackal. They don't think it worked as successfully as I thought it did, and I guess now they're going to prove me wrong. Maybe they wanted to get the kills off the back, and well, there's a bit of a moment there. Horton goes in for a fight, takes half damage. Was just pulling and playing against them and had a rough idea, so he was in there and connected just a bit quicker as Dan looked away.
こうなるとここも綺麗にしたいな。
Opened up by an exothermic, considering there was still a Mew Jimmer out there. But as it is Empire or SSG that gets that first frag yet once more, due to a bit of a surprise attack from Hotton. It is him actually using that ARC-7 to try and stay hidden for as long as he possibly can. See if he can waste that time. Bosco playing above and Logi is having these vertical angles to work with, so as soon as Scyther walks in to try and breach, he might be picked up as a result, and Rampy's still up on the top floor as well. Rotten as well, so many people off site currently on the side of SSG that it is just going to be problematic for Empire if they don't realize this. Honestly, one person on site currently is just Skies. Maybe Phil's has fallen back, but you can literally overwhelm them.
Joystick, he's playing against this fight. He knows this player's there, and he doesn't quite get the catch in the C4, but he at least slips away. They push with him, though. Always finds Rampy, and Bosco's got himself stacked up halfway up the stairs, ready to meet the Maker. But there is the danger of grenades, and it's something that both these teams know and play very, very well. So they've been able to pull focus. They can get themselves that kitchen hatch open now. They pulled the player out of there and pulled at least one of them off the top floor, but you still have obviously the danger of the others, and it's a bit of a waiting game, and waiting games work way better if you're on the defender side. They've already slipped past, and they're watching a ghost that's already long gone, and Bosco, based on being able to get to this position, if he's gone unchecked, that can be a huge play. In fact, a full rotation with a shotgun now stacked up, and you can see Empire's having to fervently re-drone everything, try and recheck where all the players have gotten to.
They have it, swings up, gets the first kill. Joystick loses his life, and it's back. A 1 minute advantage here for the side of Space Station. Bosco able to slip by is going to be absolutely crucial here, always as well. Already inside the third turn, 14 seconds left. They're just going to execute right through there. Sides are above on the hatch, just trying to provide some support, but as it gets taken out by a smoke canister and a nitro cell, it's only up to always now. But Houghton will be able to take out both, and it's SSG that win yet another round.
Once again, great play on the top floor, fed into by what was otherwise Empire getting a little bit lost. The player slipping past with the shotgun and that going unchecked. You could see they were set up entirely to try and prevent that. And sometimes one missed thing gives you a false confidence that leads to a player running around a corner and getting absolutely cut in half. CC is where we'll head next. And this is still, for the record, this is still how they expect this to go. It is a club defense, as we've said. Everybody knows it. Everybody's familiar with it, and 4-2s are probably, it's probably one of the only maps that, if you were to look at the grand data of the tournament, sits standard.
It is. CCTV, the side that everybody knows how to attack. And well, Empire actually, I have a feeling that they are going to be very happy to attack CCTV because they've perfected that push over the years. And sometimes they bring something new. Sometimes they bring something exciting. We'll get to see whether or not they do this time around as well, as SSG is setting up their hold pretty default, I'd say. What is maybe different is the reinforcements towards Logic. You don't always see that. Sometimes, actually, no, those are fine. Yeah, everything is being reinforced this time.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Are you satisfied?
Have we got the ones on the red stairs? I'm not quite sure, just checking. No, that's left soft. There you have it. Okay. And then we also have the lines of sight created in the construction wall towards the cache. Those two reinforcements, they got taken off. They got put towards Logic to prevent long angles. Instead, they created new long angles with them by opening up that Logi wall. And I said it before, it used to be 2 walls. It's now 1 wall, where you would normally reinforce one and create angles in the other. That is not going to be the case now.
Yeah, they've got themselves a little bit more of a stretch here. They're more in a position to try and pull out some of the pace that Empire might want to collapse here. And Empire, they're going to see if they can try and dig this bandit out. Alongside the mute jammers, alongside all the hefted utility there, Bosco's going to do his best to try and play around with these exothermics. And obviously with Thatcher off the board, it's just going to have to be a matter of burning it through. They'll get through it, but SSG might have to do something bold and beautiful. The grenade takes care of 2 of them. It's a pop on the far side as Hot and Cold gets caught out, and that's your top of rafters player, so Rampy has to go and reconvene in that situation and slips his way up because you cannot lose that territory. Now as Joystick sends a Gemini replicator through to just get a read on that player. There they are, revealed. There's 2. Haha, you only got 1. But you can hear the breaches coming underneath him. They're going for that rotation here. They have the angle up to catch him. If he tries to hop the hot window, he is otherwise pincered.
Yeah, that's it. The window's the only way out right now, and Dan holding the rotation 2 there as well, so he's definitely going to be shot by 2 different people if Rampy tries to get out. Now, Joystick and Always are in a position close to be able to use their grenades. However, Always is out of grenades, doesn't have any left, and if I'm looking at it, yes, we should still have 2 left on Joystick. So probably we'll need some help from Dan to waste these ADSs. May they be there? But then it's also out. Actually, check. Okay, Shepard is the only one that has flashbangs left. I'm just quickly checking who has any utility of any form. Not needed in the end. Shepard just kills
ここに
Rampy
レベルっぽくここの部分を数を取ることでなんかこの辺のやつ全部解決してんかなと思って甘いな。で適当にやってたら解決してする。ここの三角形も三角形の方が別にいいんやけどな。美しくないよね。ここもな。
Now, 45 seconds. You can see some drone works going on the backside. They're getting a read on where Faults is. They have a rough idea on the player positioning. They've cleared themselves so much space, but they've still got 2 C4s to have to play against. They've still got utility to bait out, and, well, now they've still got 2 C4s. 1 less player, 1 spray, and Always has it covered. It is a flawless to get themselves their second there, and with a very sturdy lockout on CC. This is why we talked about it before. This is why you don't see it too often now.
I said it as well. This is probably them seeing CC and being like, haha, we love this site. We know exactly how to attack it and perfected it. And it gives Empire their second round here on Club, which is quite necessary, of course. third one coming in, potentially, question mark? I don't know. We're headed towards CCTV again. That is a question mark.
I mean, we just saw it go away from them. It
was not just, it was like...
Yeah, I mean just in time-wise.
Yeah, but...
It definitely was swept away from them. But, you know, it's the conversation now with SSG is where do they think the disconnect was? Is it the player on the window? Do they think if they went for something a little bit more of a pressure around the windows of gym and bedroom and stopped that position on the CC window to be able to grenade out the far wall, is that going to be the change? Is Rampy going to potentially start up here to offer some support to Hotton so they can't just swing onto him? Is that going to be the change? There's little tweaks. In the minds of SSG, if they make them, suddenly they've offered themselves more support, but most importantly, might be able to take a player of Empire out on the approach that was otherwise kind of safe to do all the steps that they wanted outside of obviously active gunfights. They made sure that they had
別に四角ポリゴンついてたもないんやけどな。綺麗にならんなと思ってな。
or out on the opposite side.
Yeah, definitely does. As the Bennett wires are again going down, it should be an easy clear for the Empire players if we saw what they did before. They're also both placed next to each other, so literally a single fragmentation.
四角ポリゴンにできた。四角ポリゴンにする必要なんかないんやけどな。なんやったらまっすぐやから別にこれ。多分高木ポリゴンでも正直そんな問題起きひんと思うで。
So it's a bit of a trade game, right? What do you want? Do you want it to be safe from the impact?
なんかこんな感じじゃない。こんなんを多分添えていれば。あ、間違えた。添えれば多く見えるよね。だいぶ多く見える。多く見えることがないし。
Well, that will be a drone where they had a call. Dan made sure the skeleton key opened up that loose player and they've lost Rampy. They've lost that potential flex around the map to try and apply some pressure elsewhere. We saw him rotate into the dropped spot by the smoke earlier, and this time none of that. He'll be watching and waiting from underneath. Talking of, pressure comes across the bow of Lounge. They're looking to see if they can dig their way into the bottom of Garage and then try and take out that walkway player. They know that that's that corner position for the hold on the top, and while some reverse fishing is on the cards, Joystick demonstrates there's multiple ways to get this popped open.
It's the Bennett trick.
He's going to go for it, but you assume that...
No, it's too late. They will open up. Yeah, he just tried one. He thought he might have been able to quickly get Shepard as he opened up, but Shepard waited for a couple of seconds there.
本体に全部のやつをあれつけるか。なんて名前やったっけ？
Yes, he did, but wasn't able to hit anybody either. A lot of grenades being used here by the side of Empire, and Joystick now ready at the bottom of the red stairs to push up. It's just that one barbed wire that will slow him down and give Skies the information that he's coming. That one barbed wire is going to be that little bit of save ground as he does start sneaking up right now. At the meantime here, Skies seems to be aware as he swings, and Hotton will be able to pick up the first kill here in the garage. Flashbangs are coming in, however, that means he's completely blind. The grenade will be following up right after as well. That bounces up on him, but misses the opportunity. Scyther, however, will land the kill.
42 seconds, though. They've done much better at wasting the time on the approach now, and Empire have a little bit less to work with. And, well, Scyther has everything to work with. A great take all the way from deep across the front of the site. There is a door return. Fultz is able to entirely cave that corner. And now with Skies stepping himself up onto the top, they're going to see if they can try and loop this C4. It's a bait and a play, and pulls it out. Backed off, and no more in pocket apart from an impact, so it's going to be a swing, just misses that first, and there's a response from Dan. They have it covered. Fultz over the top is going to go for the cover here. 8 seconds and 2 other players. It's a post-blood, and it's a double for Fultz to make it a quad! And that is an SSG round, and that is a bit of gesturing.
I wonder where the cover was. I mean, I did see one on the balcony, but somehow able to pick up both the kills. And SSG, they managed to lock it off with a 4-2 instead of a 3-3 that was inbound. What a 4K that was. That should have been an Empire round. It was almost perfectly played by them again. But Fultz just manages to get 4 kills through. Doubles it in a round here, and you have it, you swing it, he goes for it. Pre-fire will be able to land it, and then a second one as well. Shepard tried to swing out and instantly return the favor. But it is SSG that wins.
つけてある人もいる。逆につけてる人もいるしな。
And it's Church Arsenal that will be chosen first by the side of Empire to start their defense on.
逆。
Hey, remember that thing that SSG likes to do?
Yeah, what do they like to do?
Oh, they like to just pull off big 3Ks and 4Ks.
Oh yeah, that's it.
We had this conversation as we were walking away from the earlier game with Parker and Pengu, because our games ended at roughly the same time.
Yeah.
Where he said, we hear this a lot that throughout the whole series is pop moments, because that's what SSG keep doing. Regardless of how long a series is, there's so frequently these 3Ks and 4Ks that just entirely put themselves into the setup, and
it must be so annoying to play against. Well, back then I called it the rampy insurance, but this time it's Fultz that goes for the 4K here. And I mean,
all of them have the capability.
That's it. All of them have it. And you mean Houghton is capable of doing it. Rampy, Bosco, Fultz, and Skies, all of them. That is Scyther just living through that reinforcement there, not taking a single point of damage. That is.
It was, I mean, it was either time to perfection.
Responsible play.
Well, that was a terrifying moment.
Yeah, I wonder what he was shouting at that point in time. Right away, they opened up to get the kill, but actually no, they won't open it up quickly. It is the mute jammer play, so a couple of times here or to the side. It's one of the two. There we go. Little opening will be made, and now they could go for an upside down.
ならここスペース空くから持てるっていうの。
Really depends on if you can find the right angle or not.
They have the Valk cam in there to support him as well. They have just a little bit more utility. They obviously have that popped open now, which gives them just a little bit of that more control. And you know, it's this thing of where we talk about how SSG has that extension. They have themselves all what is offered, and Hong Cold has always his number. And you look at that extension now, it's been cut off. Instantly moving their way in. That red player has to get out of there for everything else that they had. They have nothing else really at that point, so they're going to pull themselves back. There's still C4s, there's a bit of cover and a bit of support otherwise, but all the players have found themselves all the way home. Pre-play C4 on the swing round as well against the sledge might be able to prove effective. It's sometimes you see a buck broad instead, but it's also about timing and intel, and that's something that they always have.
Yeah, for sure. It's something they always have available to them. 1 minute 20 on the clock. Is it enough time for SSG to make their attack stick? I think it could be. I think there's definitely enough time here. As they do have that 1 minute advantage. They do have, of course, a lot of control already. There's no roamer currently out there. It's just Scyther that is looking to go aggressive right here, but he gets stunned. So he's forced to fall back. I'm not quite sure if the hatch has already opened up into blue. Doesn't seem to be the case. Otherwise, he would have been punished for it. Actually just opened up as he passed there. So Scyther will escape with his life.
Joystick is waiting for the pressure to come down.
これマジめんどくさかった。
SSG can work quickly when they need to. The point already long since proven. Rampy, he's going to start smashing his way down kitchen and seeing what else resides underneath as Bosco goes for the slow creep onto dirt. They've spread themselves out. They've got a lot of depth to their push, but there's a rotation coming up blue. There's a bit of a push and a fight back there onto Lounge from, I believe, Joystick. He's going on an adventure here to see if he can strike back, as there's 20 seconds left. There he is, and this could be huge as he goes for the swing here. There's the player, and Rampy is taken out of it just before things start to hit ahead. They're able to drop a player. The push comes onto the site, but Dan rebuffs it. There's a hot drop there. Straight instantly into the firefight, but he can't quite get the connection as they rotate their way back around. Fultz doesn't have a lead in, and doesn't have a curious way through the site. All the questions posed are answered. And no more curiosities are left.
Perfect flank there, actually, at the right timing. Able to pick up Rampy. Suddenly the whole blue pressure falls away, and there's only a couple of spots left that the space station members can come from. And it sows a bit of chaos in their push as well, because suddenly you lost the whole aspect of it. As Joystick confirms that kill, he quickly falls back, and suddenly everything is coming down from the main stairs, and of course the motorcycle hatch. And Empire to bring it back a little bit closer. 3 to 4 currently. Just the other quick
これは弾薬のここの部分はこれ非表示にできるでしょ。うん、俺らこれ空にできるから別に。
So I doubt that they'll try and start doing that now.
これはできるな。
Something big just happened. And it's the thing when you cast next to our wonderful colleagues from the UL.
これは一応まあ動くけど。
But also when they're
一応これ動くようにしてあるんや。
You'll hear that as well. So we'll get an update. What's the update there? Spoiler alert. Cover your ears if you don't want to know.
TSM has won with a 2-1 map score there. So well played to them. They proceed.
NA.
NA goes through.
You're doing well.
あれや、こっち側のボルトリリースのボタン、ボルトキャッチ、キャッチもできるんか。ボルトリリースのキャッチもできるな。こっちに出てきてさ、この人差し指、引き金引く指でパチンとできるやつ。もうあれ作ろうと思ってたよな。簡単にできるんやけどな。まあまた今度でいいや。あとこいつ作ったんやったら、ミリオタのサガやけど、ここにね、こっちか別にどこでもいい、ここでもいいんやけど、スイッチがいるんよな。こいつをつけるための。ここにライトつけたいし、こっち側にライトつけたいし。綱飛ばないって感じだけど。まあまあ、こんな感じで、とりあえずレーザーは終わった。名前は多分ちゃんとやるな、けど、とりあえずいった。これはまあ、一応ここからグリーンと回るように。いや、回る必要ないけどな、別にこのアニメーションでやらへんし、この辺は。全部多分フリーズちゃうわ。ロックでいいと思うけどな。次回はどうしようか。スイッチ作ってもいいし、スイッチ作って、ここ、ヒュってここ、ここの作った要領でやってもいいし、その時にデフォーマーのカーブワープちょっと試してみていいな。あんまりやったことないからさ、これ。ホロサイトが好きやからさ、ホロサイト乗せたいんやけどさ、まあ、英国でもいいけど、何が一番簡単やろな、形的には。椅子みたいな形してるから簡単そうではあるんやけどな。どうなるね、わからへん。めんどくさいかもしれへん。別にこれでも何も大丈夫だし。ライトは多分、もう、これ、円柱をバーってやるだけやから、そんなに難しくないと思う。どういうデザインにしたいかによるんやけどな。ここの、これも簡単に作れるな。ボルトリリースのアンビルのやつね。これとかも適当やもんな、こことかな。もうこういうのあるやん。こういうやつさ。クレーンストックって言うんだっけ。これな、これ気になるよな。サブディブかけたらここの部分だけなんか変になるもんな。筋できるもんな。気になるんやけど、もういいやと思って。
down, and it's just a flood back in from Empire. The positioning of the diffuser was a clever change, but Dan with the loop back round, the flank on the flank comes through for Empire.
Indeed, there was one man still in that construction trying to deal with the
これとかな、開いてるもんな。どうせ見えへんから。
I need to start walking back now because if I stay here, I'll just receive a bullet in the back from the MPX and that will end me here as well. And Empire now put themselves up 4-4 despite in these last two rounds missing the opening kill. A lot of time was being wasted.
一体貸してしまったんやな。別にいいんやけどな。マジでどうでもいいんやけどな、こんなことは。全体やけどこいつらがついてこへんな。こいつについてるからこいつもこいつもついてこへんくなるからこいつは何やっちゃおうか。違う。マズルやな。マズルにスプレッサーをこうすると。こんなのマズルでどうかな。
Take two of your attacks generally, very vaguely as a number in this sort of setting, in this sort of international play. So this is it. This is the one that probably out of all the rounds we've had so far, the two on the start of the half that has the most weight right now for SSG, and they've proven that they can take this well. They were obviously, you know, they only took one of their attacks against Na'Vi in the entire half, but that was their first attack onto Jimbo. That was their first claw in to those locations, and with the Bandit on the board, you assume he's not going to be able to pull off the tricks that he did before, especially without Castle as well, the limitations of that swinging on the far side.
Now, Black Eye gets taken out, so there was one located, wasn't tossed down, but a drone on the roof was able to see it fly through. Of course, with the recent changes, or basically changes we had this year, you could choose to stay on your drone rather than get kicked off it, which means that these Valkyrie cams that get tossed out at the moment, that is going to be just too late. He was about to try and go for the trick there, Shepard, but he's unable to find that exothermic charge. But to continue the point, it is harder now to get these Valkyrie cameras outside because people can stay on their drones and just spot them out as they fly in.
これマスターやな。ルートか。まあまあどっちもいいんやけど。
Alright, SSG, you've been able to start getting stuff opened. Cracked on the far side, but haven't really thrown yourself dedicated to try and get rid of Joystick inside there. You're actually picking up utility, pulling the shield back, and maybe going to reconvene and restructure on the site itself. Potentially on the bed, no, even wider is... There it is. This is what I talked about. It's going to be pretty tough to be able to hold on to that without the lock-in. The C4.
うわ、本物やって感じより、なんかおもちゃやって感じがする。フィギュアとかのさ、やつ。フィギュアとかに持たせるやつ。ちっこいやつあるよ。ああいう。あんな感じにするな、この。まあ、ローポリやろ、これは。どう見てもローポリやろ。これはまあちょっと多いけど、ここはでもこんななるけど、まあ、穴開いてるのとかを再現しようとするとこれぐらいになるんだけど、これも最低限のポリゴンやね。正直。この辺とかは削減できるかもしれんけどな。これはもう最低限。だいぶ最低限。この中とかは、ほんまにスカスカやもんな。でもこれさ、消しちゃうとさ、消えちゃうね。ああ、めんどくさいな。こいつここにやってんのか。これもここにしたらええんやな。まあやわ。なんでもいいわ。これ消えへんってことは。
But Joystick wins the fight on the far side. By Houghton, he's off down below, downstairs. We'll see you later. Joystick in the meantime is able to find Bosco back. They have two vertices, two sides, one underneath and one just out on the balcony for the swing. It's so exposed. This kit, this diffuser, and the three remaining players are going to have to try and find a way to get themselves back through. Houghton's watching this rotation. He's going to make sure it's locked in. So down goes the slow creep and crawl below. They have to cover a bit of noise, and there it is. Just sees the hand, and the cover comes through. It's theirs. Now the diffuser's being held, but it is locked in. Empire complete their three-site rotation with about 3 seconds to spare, and they pull ahead of SSG.
What a retake that was for a second or so.